You open your eyes to the sound of fire. The temple burns behind you, the night sky glowing red with betrayal. Clones march with rifles raised, soldiers who once called you general. The voices in your head whisper only one truth: the galaxy has turned against you. Every friend is now a hunter. Every shadow hides a blaster. And the Jedi are already dead. So sit back, grab a snack, and let your imagination drift across the stars. And remember, if you enjoy this journey, subscribe, because the story of the galaxy is far from over. The first thing you notice is the silence. Not the kind of silence that soothes after battle, not the gentle quiet of victory's breath, but a silence so sharp it cuts deeper than any vibroblade. A silence that feels wrong, the kind that creeps into your chest and makes every heartbeat sound like thunder. You stand on the ridge of a war-torn world, the dust of blaster fire still clinging to the air, your lungs stinging with the metallic tang of ozone. The sky above is choked with clouds that roll and tumble like waves, swallowing the last hints of daylight in a storm-gray tide. You should feel relief. The enemy has retreated. The battle is over, but instead your stomach knots. Something unseen, something unspeakable, slithers across the horizon of your mind. The comms buzz, static crackles, then dies. For hours they had been alive with the voices of Jedi across the stars, shouting orders, asking for reinforcements, sending coordinates with that calm clarity only the order can muster. But now, nothing, not a whisper, not a single desperate cry. You press a finger to the receiver at your belt, waiting for a flicker of life. It hisses back at you like a serpent, empty and cruel. You tell yourself it's a glitch, another dust storm choking the signal, a problem you'll fix later. But deep down, in the marrow of your bones, you already know the truth. Something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. You glance at the men, the clones, your brothers in arms, your soldiers, your friends. They move with discipline, their boots crunching in unison across the ash-stained ground. Their white armor, smeared with soot and streaks of blood, gleams under the faint starlight. You remember their laughter around campfires, the way they teased you for meditating too long, the way they called you general with a grin instead of a salute. You trusted them. You taught them. You bled with them. And yet, when your gaze lingers on them now, something in their movements feels alien, mechanical, as if the humanity you once swore you saw in their eyes has been replaced by something hollow. Then it happens. A sound cracks through the night, a single blaster bolt, sharp and sudden. It wasn't aimed at the retreating enemy, it wasn't aimed at the sky, it was aimed at you. The bolt sizzles past your head, close enough to sear the air. You whip your lightsaber to life, the blue blade humming with a familiar comfort, but the sight before you shatters every illusion you held. Your men, your loyal soldiers, have turned their rifles in your direction. Their visors shine cold and lifeless, reflecting your own stunned expression back at you. The air burns with betrayal. You stagger backward, your heart hammering, your voice cracking as you shout their names. You remind them of the campaigns you fought together, of the victories you shared, of the loyalty you thought was unbreakable. But they don't answer. They don't hesitate. They fire. Blaster fire rains down in sheets of red, scorching the air, ripping into the soil, tearing the ground you stand on into molten shards. The thunder of it drowns out your thoughts, drowns out your breath, drowns out everything except one simple truth. You are being hunted, not by separatists, not by droids, but by your own brothers. The war you thought you were winning is gone, swept away in the span of a heartbeat. You leap into the chaos, your blade spinning, deflecting shot after shot. Each impact vibrates through your arms, the heat searing your palms. The smell of burning ozone and scorched earth fills your lungs as you fight to survive. But it's not like before. This isn't battle. This is slaughter. They don't fight with hesitation. They fight with precision, with calculation, with the singular purpose of ending you. You recognize the formations, the tactics you once praised. They are using everything you taught them, every maneuver you drilled into their bones, every lesson you gave in trust. Now it's turned against you. You dive behind a crumbled wall, your chest heaving. You press your back to the cold stone, the hum of your saber still echoing in your ears. Your mind screams for answers, for meaning, for anything that could explain why this is happening. And then you hear it, a voice, not through your ears, but through the Force. Low, commanding, dripping with venomous certainty. Execute Order 66. The words echo like thunder in your skull, rattling your bones. You don't know who speaks them, but the weight of the command is undeniable. The clones obey without question. It isn't rage. It isn't choice. It's programming, buried deep within them like a sleeping predator, awakened at the perfect moment. You realize, in that instant, that the war was never yours to win. It was always his, always Sidious. The Force twists around you, heavy with death. Across the galaxy, you feel them, flares of light extinguished in sudden bursts. Jedi Masters cut down by the very soldiers they led, younglings crying out in terror before their voices vanish. Friends you trained with, bled with, laughed with, gone. Each loss is a dagger in your chest, a scream in your soul. You want to collapse, you want to grieve, but there's no time. Blaster bolts rip through your cover, stone exploding into shards around you. You leap again, twisting through the chaos, your blade a whirl of light. You feel the burn of plasma grazing your shoulder, the sting of smoke filling your eyes. Every sense is on fire, every nerve screams for survival. You can't stop. You can't breathe, you can't think, you can only run. You flee into the ruins, the night swallowing you whole. The storm above cracks with lightning. The Shi under rolling like drums of war. Rain begins to fall, mixing with the ash and blood, turning the soil into black mud that clings to your boots. Your breath fogs in the cold air as you sprint, the clones' shouts echoing behind you. You know their voices, you know the rhythm of their steps, and yet every sound feels wrong now. Twisted, betrayed. You stumble into a ravine, sliding down the wet rock, your hands scraping raw against the stone. At the bottom, you find yourself in darkness, the roar of the storm muffled above. The Force whispers to you, but its voice is broken, fragmented, like a shattered glass trying to form words. You sense danger everywhere, no safe path, no sanctuary, only hunters in every shadow. You press a hand to your chest, feeling your heart pound like a war drum. The memories of your men flash in your mind, their jokes, their songs, their loyalty. You want to believe it was real, that it meant something, but now, staring into the abyss, you wonder if it was all an illusion, if every smile was just a mask, if you were nothing more than a pawn in a game you never understood. The rain thickens, dripping from your hair, stinging your eyes. You grip your saber tighter, its glow casting pale light on the jagged stone around you. The sound of boots draws closer, echoing down the ravine walls. You know they're coming, you know they won't stop. And then, above the storm, above the gunfire, above the pounding of your heart, you hear it. A child's voice, thin, fragile, crying out in the distance. A youngling, alone, afraid. The sound cuts through the chaos, through the betrayal, through the fire in your veins. The clones aren't just hunting you, they're hunting them. The future, the last sparks of hope. You lift your head, breath ragged, eyes wide. The rain washes the ash from your face, but not the fear, not the despair. You know what this means. You know what's about to happen. Because the night of betrayal has only just begun. It begins with a look, a single glance through the visor of a man you once called brother. No malice burns there, no flicker of regret, just emptiness, cold obedience. You know that face, though you cannot see it. You know the scars hidden beneath the plastoid. You know the sound of his laughter, the rhythm of his footsteps, the weight of his presence in every battlefield you've ever survived together. But now, staring at him through the rain and the smoke, all you see is a stranger pointing a rifle at your chest. The blaster bolt sears the air beside you, the heat licking across your cheek. Another shot follows, and another, until the night is alive with red fire and the hiss of plasma cutting through the storm. Their formation is perfect, precise, coordinated, with the discipline only you taught them. Every step forward is calculated, every shot is measured. You once praised them for this. You once believed it made them unstoppable. Now you realize it does, against you. Your blade sings to life again, the hum vibrating in your bones as you deflect the first volley. Sparks cascade against the stone as bolts ricochet back into the mud. You want to hesitate, you want to lower your weapon and plead with them to stop, but they don't stop. They advance in silence, voices muted by helmets, hearts drowned in the weight of a command they didn't choose but cannot resist. The rain thickens, dripping through the cracks of your armor, washing grit into your wounds. The taste of iron lingers on your tongue, bitter as betrayal. Each breath you take feels stolen, carved from the very air that wants to choke you. You parry another volley, but your arms ache, your muscles scream. The battle doesn't feel like battle anymore. It feels like drowning. Every second you resist, the tide rises higher. You remember their names. You whisper them under your breath, as if speaking them aloud. Break whatever chains bind their minds. Crest, Thorn, Jarrow, please. You hear nothing in response, not hesitation, not mercy, only blaster fire. The weight of an order is heavier than memory, heavier than loyalty, heavier than brotherhood. You dive into cover again, crouching behind a half-collapsed barricade, the mud splashing up your legs as bolts scorch the ground. The smell of burning plastoid fills your nose. One of them struck down by his own ricochet. For a heartbeat you think it might matter, that his fall might shake the others, but they step over his body without a pause, without a word. He was your brother. To them, he is nothing. The Force swirls around you, not as a guide, but as a scream. You feel the death of Jedi across the stars, voices silenced like candles snuffed in a storm. The galaxy trembles beneath the shadow of something vast and merciless. You want to believe you can fight it. You want to believe you can stop it. But with every blaster shot, with every step your brothers take toward you, you realize the truth. This isn't war. It's execution. Your mind reels with memories, sharing rations with them under broken skies, laughing as one of them told the same terrible joke for the 100th time, holding the hand of a dying trooper who begged you not to let his brothers know he was afraid. Those moments should mean something. They should have built bonds stronger than orders. But standing here now, drenched in rain and betrayal, you realize those bonds were illusions. Strings pulled taut by design. You ignite both ends of your saber, spinning it in a desperate arc to cut a path through their fire. The glow reflects against their visors, blinding them for a heartbeat. You rush forward, your blade grazing the edge of a rifle, slicing it in half. The clone drops back, but another takes his place instantly. Their formation shifts like water, flowing around your strikes, filling every gap. There's no anger in their movements, no cruelty, just precision, just duty. That's what makes it worse. A shot grazes your leg, heat burning through flesh and cloth. You stumble, falling into the muck. Your saber spins from your grasp, its light dimming as it sinks halfway into the mud beside you. Rain pelts your face, mixing with the grit, with the sting of sweat and blood. For the briefest second, you want to stay down, to let it end here, with the brothers you once loved standing above you. But then you hear the voice again, a child's cry, weak, fragile, somewhere deeper in the ruins, somewhere beyond the wall of white-armored hunters. The youngling, alone, afraid. Your heart seizes. The thought of them, wide-eyed and trembling, waiting for you to come. It drags you to your feet. The pain in your leg doesn't matter. The fire in your chest doesn't matter. Nothing matters except getting to them before the clones do. You grab your saber, its hum returning with a desperate spark, and you run. You weave between the fire, each step a battle, each breath a war. The mud clutches at your boots, the storm blinds your eyes, but you don't stop. Not when you know they won't stop either. They chase you like predators who have already tasted blood. You can feel their sights on your back, the weight of their intent pressing between your shoulder blades like a dagger. You slide into another trench, chest heaving, lungs burning with the smell of smoke. A bolt slams into the wall inches from your head, spraying shards of stone across your face. You close your eyes for a second, the force pulsing through your veins, whispering fragments you don't want to hear. They are gone. You are next. Run. But you don't run forever. You know it. They know it. Every second is a countdown. Every heartbeat is borrowed. You rise again, stumbling forward, using the force to push through rubble, to Isud. Oh, fling stones into their path. For every step you take, they take 3. For every moment you gain, they steal it back. They are tireless. They are endless. They are yours, but no longer for you. The sound of boots grows louder, echoing in the ravine, amplified by the storm. You glance back and see them, dozens of them, rifles raised, advancing in unison. Their visors glow like hollow eyes, their armor reflecting the lightning. You once called them an army of hope. Now they are the face of despair. You stumble into an open clearing, the ruins towering around you like broken teeth. The rain pours harder, soaking you to the bone, your robes clinging heavy against your body. The mud sucks at your feet with every step. You feel your strength slipping, your arms trembling from the weight of the saber. You can't keep this up. You know it, you feel it, and still you move forward, because behind you is death, and ahead, maybe, just maybe, a chance to reach that child. A voice cuts through the storm, harsh, commanding, familiar. Target sighted. Your heart freezes. You know that voice. The commander, the one who always stood beside you, not behind you, the one you trusted above all others. He steps into the clearing, rifle steady, visor reflecting the blue glow of your blade. For a moment the world narrows to just him. You want to see hesitation, you want to see a crack, anything, but there is nothing. His aim does not waver. The storm rages around you, the rain washing blood from your wounds, the thunder rolling like drums of doom. You tighten your grip on the saber, forcing your trembling hands steady. You whisper his name, one last time, as if the syllables could pierce the armor, as if it could remind him of the man beneath the helmet. He doesn't answer. The rifle fires. The shot burns toward you, red as betrayal, fast as death. And in that instant, heart pounding, Brett Gihol. It's stolen, vision narrowing. You realize the truth. The brothers you once trusted are gone, and now they are the hunters. It begins with the smell, acrid, suffocating, unmistakable. Smoke rolls through your lungs like poison, burning the back of your throat as if the very air has turned to ash. You cough, stumble, force your eyes open, and there it is, the temple, your home, the only place in the galaxy that ever felt like more than a battlefield. The towers that once glowed like beacons in the Coruscant night sky now flicker with fire, orange tongues devouring stone and steel, climbing higher with every breath you take. The Jedi Temple, the sanctuary of your childhood, the fortress of wisdom and peace, is being swallowed alive. The sound comes next. Not the calm murmur of voices in meditation halls, not the laughter of younglings in training yards. No, now it is screams. Echoes carried through corridors like knives scraping across glass, high-pitched, desperate, pleading screams that twist your stomach and make your skin crawl. Each voice is one you know. Each voice is one you've sworn to protect, but with every heartbeat, another is silenced, swallowed by blaster fire or the roar of collapsing stone. You sprint through the archways, your boots slipping on the polished floors now slick with soot and blood. The walls glow faintly in the firelight, murals of Jedi history warped and distorted by heat. The banners that once hung with pride are shredded, their edges smoldering. Your ears ring with the clash of sabers in distant halls, the snap hiss of blades igniting in desperate defense, the sharp staccato of rifles in response. The temple, your home, your heart, is a battlefield now, and you are running through its veins, chasing after screams you can't bear to hear. The first body you see is small, too small. A youngling lies sprawled against the wall, his training saber still clutched in tiny fingers. His eyes are wide, frozen in terror, his chest unmoving. You drop to your knees beside him, yet your hand trembling as you reach out, hoping, praying that maybe the Force will whisper that he's still there. But it doesn't. The Force is heavy, fractured, silent. You close your eyes and for a heartbeat, grief nearly crushes you. But another scream rips through the air, higher, sharper, and you force yourself back to your feet. There's no time to mourn. Not yet. You round the corner and see them. Younglings huddled together in the shadows, their small faces streaked with soot and tears. Their eyes widen at the sight of you, flickering with hope, with desperate belief that their protector has come. You raise your hand, whispering through the smoke for them to stay quiet, to stay hidden. You want to promise them safety. You want to tell them you'll get them out. But before you can, the sound of boots slams against the floor. Clones, marching in formation. Their white armor gleams orange in the firelight, rifles raised, movements precise. You feel the children tense behind you, their fear pressing into the Force like a wave. Your saber hums to life with a desperate spark, its glow cutting through the smoke. The first shot streaks toward you, and you deflect it, the heat searing your arms. Another follows, then another, until the corridor is alive with red fire. You block, twist, parry, every muscle screaming, every breath a battle, but you are outnumbered. They press forward like a tide, unfeeling, relentless. The children scream, clutching one another, and the sound shatters something inside you. You lash out with the force, shoving the clones back into the walls, their rifles clattering against the floor. You don't kill them. You can't. Not yet. Not them. You scoop the younglings into your arms, urging the others forward, shouting over the roar of blaster fire to run. Their small feet slap against the stone as they scatter into the smoke, their sobs echoing like geishi. Oasts. You follow, your saber spinning, your body a shield against the storm of betrayal. You heard them through corridors you once walked as a child, each step heavy with memories. Here, this hall, where you trained under the watchful eye of your master. There, the library, where you whispered to friends long after lights out, your voices carrying through the silence. Every corner, every door, every shadow is alive with memory, and every one of those memories is being consumed by fire. The air grows hotter, the flames crackling louder as you push deeper into the temple. You feel the building itself shudder, ancient stone groaning as if it too mourns what is happening. The force ripples with agony. You can feel Jedi dying, masters you once admired, friends you once sparred with, children who never got the chance to grow. Each light snuffed out is another dagger in your chest, another wound that will never heal. You burst into the great hall, the heart of the temple, and the sight steals the breath from your lungs. Statues of Jedi heroes stand half-collapsed, their faces crumbling under falling debris. The great skylights above have shattered, rain and fire mixing as water cascades through the smoke, hissing against molten stone. In the center of the hall, bodies lie scattered, Jedi, young and old, their sabers extinguished beside them. The clones move among them like carrion birds, finishing what they started, rifles raised without hesitation. One of the younglings clutches your robe, eyes wide, voice trembling as they whisper, "Why?" The word pierces deeper than any blaster bolt. You don't have an answer. You don't have the truth. You only have the sick, sinking knowledge that betrayal doesn't need a reason when it comes wrapped in the weight of an order. You charge forward, deflecting fire, your blade a blur. You strike not to kill but to protect, to buy seconds, to carve a path through the storm. The clones fall back under the force of your strikes, but more surge in to take their place. They don't stop. They won't stop. Every one of them wears a face you know, a voice you've heard, a name you've spoken. And yet now, they are nothing but executioners. The younglings scatter, fleeing toward the far corridor, their cries echoing. You follow, heart pounding, body burning with exhaustion. You hear more boots behind you, more rifles priming, more death closing in. The temple shakes again, a roar like thunder tearing through its bones. The spire above collapses, stone and fire crashing into the hall. You shove the children forward, shielding them with the force, your muscles screaming with the effort. The ground splits beneath you, rubble crashing down, the air thick with smoke and dust. You stumble, your vision swimming, the heat of the flames searing your skin. The children cry out for you, their voices distant through the ringing in your ears. You push forward, every step a battle, every breath a victory. You can't stop. Not here. Not now. You promised to protect them. You swore. And then, silence. The corridor ahead is empty. The children are gone. You stagger into the smoke, spinning, searching, calling their names. Your voice cracks, breaks, shatters, but there is no answer. Only the sound of boots behind you, growing louder, closer. Only the hum of rifles charging, the hiss of smoke curling through the fire. You drop to your knees, your saber flickering in your trembling hand, the ashes clinging to your skin. The temple burns around you, the only home you've ever known collapsing into ruin. The younglings you swore to protect have vanished into the smoke, and for the first time you wonder if you've already failed. The storm rages outside, the fire rages within, and the hunters close in. It creeps in slowly at first, like a sickness you don't notice until it's already in your veins. The memories, the faces, the laughter around campfires after long campaigns, the clinking of ration cans as they toasted another day survived, the way they teased you for meditating too long or for not knowing the lyrics to their crude marching songs, the way they called you general, Not with stiffness, but with warmth, like the title meant more than just rank, like it was a bond forged through fire. You thought those bonds were unbreakable. You thought trust was carved into every scar, every shared wound, every hard-won victory. But now, as you stumble through the smoke and ash of a galaxy gone dark, those memories feel poisoned. They burn your tongue like spoiled wine, sour and bitter and wrong. Because the same men who shared those fires, who carried you on their backs when you bled, who swore they'd follow you into death itself, are the same men who raised their rifles and pulled their triggers without hesitation. You can still see their eyes in your mind, even behind the visor, not angry, not cruel, just empty, as if loyalty itself had been hollow all along. You whisper their names under your breath as you limp through the ruins, names that once gave you strength: Crest, Thorn, Jarrow, names that now feel like weapons, each syllable cutting you deeper than any blade. For a moment you wonder if you were ever anything more than a mission to them, a duty, a set of orders wrapped in robes and honor. The storm outside hammers the temple walls, rain pouring through shattered skylights, sizzling against the flames. The air tastes of ash and metal, the kind of taste that clings to your throat long after the smoke is gone. You push forward, your robes heavy with water and soot, your saber flickering in your hand. Every shadow feels alive, every flicker of light feels like the gleam of a visor. You tell yourself you're still fighting for the children, that you're still searching. But the truth is harder to swallow. You are running from the ghosts of your own trust. You remember the first time you led them into battle. Their armor gleamed white under the twin suns, their boots kicking up dust in perfect formation. They moved like a single being, precise and disciplined. But when the helmets came off, they were just men. They joked, they fought, they bled. One of them handed you a ration bar, grinning as if sharing food made you family. Another asked you what the temple looked like on the inside, and you told him stories of quiet halls, of meditation gardens, of ancient wisdom. Their eyes lit up like children hearing fairy tales. You thought you were teaching them what life meant outside of war. You thought you were giving them hope. Now you realize you were giving them nothing they were allowed to keep. Their loyalty was never to you. It was never to your words or your friendship or your bond. It was always to something hidden, something you never saw, always to the Empire, always to him. And you? You were too blind to notice the leash around their necks, the strings tied to their hearts. You press your back against the wall of the corridor, chest heaving, your leg throbbing with every step. The clones' voices echo in the distance, sharp commands, clipped words, no hesitation. You know their voices. You trained with those voices. But now they sound hollow, stripped of life. You can almost picture their faces beneath the helmets, but the image twists in your mind, their familiar features blurring into masks of obedience. You try to hold on to the memory of them as men, as brothers. But every second that passes replaces those memories with the sound of blaster fire, with the sight of rifles raised against you. The betrayal cuts deeper because it was silent. They didn't warn you. They didn't hesitate. There was no flicker of choice. One second they were your allies. The next, they were your executioners. That's the part you can't let go of. Not the fire, not the blood, but the silence. Because silence means there was nothing to break. Trust wasn't shattered. It was never there at all. You stumble into one of the old training rooms, its floors cracked and scorched by blaster bolts. The mats where younglings once sparred are torn, littered with ash. You remember teaching here, watching wide-eyed initiates ignite their sabers for the first time, their hands trembling with both fear and wonder. You remember the clones watching from the doorway, cheering when a youngling managed a clean strike, clapping when they stumbled but stood again. You thought that meant something. You thought they cared, but now you stand in the ruins of that memory, and the room is silent except for the hiss of rain on fire. The force ripples through you, heavy with guilt. You should have seen it. You should have known. Every meditation you practiced, every whisper you listened for, and you never felt the darkness threading through their veins. You never sensed the trap closing around you. Maybe the council didn't either, or maybe they chose not to see. Maybe you all did, because to see it would have been to admit that everything you built your life on was a lie. You grip your saber tighter, the hum vibrating in your palm. The light feels colder now, less like a weapon and more like a reminder of who you were and who you might never be again. You glance at your reflection in the charred glass of the window. The figure staring back is not the Jedi who once smiled with his men, who once believed in honor and brotherhood. The figure staring back is gaunt, eyes hollow, robes torn and soaked with blood. You wonder if the clones see you like this now. Not a leader, not a general, just prey. The sound of boots drags you back to the moment. You hear them approaching, their steps steady, methodical, unhurried. They know you're cornered, they know you're tired, and they know you're alone. You press yourself against the wall, listening to the rhythm of their march. It's a rhythm you once marched to, a rhythm you once trusted with your life. Now it sounds like a death knell, each beat sealing your fate. The corridor fills with shadows as they round the corner, rifles raised, visors glowing faintly in the firelight. You ignite your saber once more, the blue glow clashing against the red haze of flame. For a heartbeat, you see the faces you remember. Smiles, jokes, brothers. But then the rifles click, the barrels rise, and the ghosts vanish. All that remains are hunters. The first volley comes, and you deflect it, the heat searing your arms. Sparks scatter across the walls as you parry, step back, parry again. Your muscles scream, your lungs burn, but you push on, driven by something more than survival, driven by the desperate, impossible need to prove, to yourself, to them, that the bond you thought you had was real. That trust wasn't just a lie. But with every shot, with every step they take forward, the truth presses harder against your chest. Their loyalty was never yours. It was never to the Jedi. It was never to the Republic. It was always to the one who now sits on a throne of shadows, his command echoing in their veins like a poison. Execute Order 66. You falter, a bolt grazing your shoulder, the pain flashing white across your vision. You drop to one knee, your saber trembling in your grasp. The clones close in, rifles steady, their aim unshakable. You look at them, really look, and for a heartbeat you almost beg. Not for your life, not for mercy, but for a sign, a flicker. Anything that proves the years you spent together weren't an illusion, but their visors remain empty, their silence remains unbroken, and in that silence, you find your answer. You push yourself back to your feet, blood running down your arm, teeth clenched against the pain. The storm outside rages louder, lightning splitting the sky, thunder rolling through the ruins like a drumbeat of doom. You know you can't win, you know you can't fight forever, but you raise your saber anyway. Its light steady, despite your trembling hands, because even if trust was a lie, even if brotherhood was an illusion, you will not let it end here. Not yet. You step forward, into their fire, into their betrayal, into the storm. And as the rifles blaze and the walls shake, you whisper to yourself, to the shadows, to the ghosts of trust already broken. That's why it's sucked to. Oh, be a Jedi. The next shot fires. The next breath catches, and you realize this isn't the end. This is only the beginning. At first you think it's just interference, static, another storm rolling over the city choking the signals the way it chokes the sky, but then you hear it, the absence. A hollow void where voices should be, a silence that crawls under your skin and makes the air itself feel heavier. You clutch the comlink at your belt, thumb brushing across the dented casing, waiting for the familiar crackle, for the call sign of a brother or sister in the Force. But there is nothing. Moments ago, the channels buzzed with life, Jedi scattered across the galaxy, some laughing after victories, others shouting for reinforcements, still others whispering fragments of hope into the dark. You could always count on that chorus, like stars blinking in the night, each one a reminder you weren't alone. But now the stars have gone out, the comms are dead, the chorus is silent, and for the first time in your life, you realize what it means to truly be alone. You raise the receiver to your lips, your voice hoarse, throat raw from smoke. This is, you stop. Do you even give your name anymore? If anyone hears it, will it save you or mark you for death? You force the words out anyway, a whisper swallowed by static. This is, anyone. Do you copy? Nothing. Not even static now, just the weight of silence, pressing into your ears until it feels like your skull will crack from the pressure. You lower the comm link, your hand trembling, your chest hollow. It's not a storm. It's not interference, it's extermination, and you can feel it. The Force shifts, ripples, screams. 1,000 lights wink out in your mind, not one by one, but in waves, like fire sweeping through a forest. Masters, knights, Padawans, their presences vanish as if ripped from existence, their last breaths echoing through you before collapsing into nothingness. You stagger under the weight of it, your knees buckling, your fingers clench. Wing at the wall for balance. It's not just death, it's erasure. The galaxy itself feels emptier, as if the force has been muted, its music reduced to a broken hum. You stumble into the rain, the storm pelting against your face, washing soot into your eyes. The city of Coruscant sprawls before you, towers stretching into the dark, their lights dim beneath the storm clouds. You used to look at this skyline and see promise, civilization, order, the republic you swore to protect. Now you see shadows, cold, endless shadows, where enemies hide in every window, every street, every face. You raise the comm link again, desperate, your voice cracking. Master? Council? Anyone? The words hang in the air like ghosts, unanswered. You remember nights in the temple when the comm channels were alive with warmth, voices trading stories, advice, gentle teasing. Even across light years, you never felt alone. But now the silence stretches endlessly, and you wonder if maybe the silence is all that's left. You clutch your chest, the emptiness gnawing at you. The force once flowed bright and constant, a river carrying you forward, filling your veins with light. But now the river is poisoned. It feels fractured, broken, as if something massive has sunk its claws into it. Every time you reach for it, you find jagged edges, shards of pain, whispers of despair. And beneath it all, deeper than you can reach, you sense something watching, a shadow, a presence that coils through the silence like smoke. The Emperor. The realization claws at you. This was never war, it was always slaughter. The clones didn't choose this. The Jedi didn't see it. And you? You walked blind into it, leading your brothers into battle after battle, never realizing the knife had been hovering at your back the entire time. You feel sick. Betrayal coils in your gut like venom. You taste bile in your mouth, sour and bitter. You push forward, stumbling through the rain-slick streets, every step echoing off Durasteel walls. The city is alive with noise, speeders roaring, sirens wailing, stormtroopers already moving into place. But through it all, you hear the silence. You listen for a single comm channel to break open, for a single voice to cut through the void. Nothing. You duck into an alley, your back pressed against the cold duracrete, your robes clinging heavy against your body. Water drips from your hair, running into your eyes, stinging the cut on your cheek. You press the comm link again, whispering this time, not out of caution, but out of despair. Please, anyone, I'm still here. Still nothing. Your mind drifts unbidden to the council chamber, the great circle of seats, the tall windows opening to the endless sky. You remember Yoda's voice, calm, wise, steady. You remember Mace Windu's sharp words, cutting through indecision with fire. You remember Kenobi's wry smile, Anakin's restless energy. They were the anchors, the ones who reminded you that no matter the storm, the Jedi endured. But now, staring into the void of the comms, you wonder if they are already gone. You wonder if the circle is empty, the chamber silent, the sky outside dark, the rain hammers harder, and the silence in your ear feels heavier than ever. You think of the younglings again, the ones who looked at you with wide eyes, whispering questions about the Force, about their future. You told them they would always be safe. You told them the Order would never abandon them. Now those promises feel like lies. You couldn't save them. You couldn't even warn them. The temple burned, their screams echoing in your chest, and the comms remained silent. The storm winds whipped down the alley, carrying the faint smell of fire even here, miles from the temple. You taste it again. Ash, metal, death. You close your eyes, reaching Fi, or the Force, searching desperately for a thread of hope, for a voice, for a flicker, for anything. The silence answers, and then, beneath the silence, a whisper. It isn't words, not exactly. It's a sensation, a pull, a warning. The Force trying to guide you, even through its brokenness. You feel danger press against your spine, cold and sharp. You don't think. You ignite your saber just as the first bolt screams through the rain. It deflects in a spray of sparks, the light flashing against the alley walls. More follow, the air sizzling red. You spin, blade a blur, the hum vibrating through your bones. At the end of the alley, shapes emerge from the shadows. White armor gleaming in the rain, rifles steady, movements perfect. The silence breaks, not with Jedi voices but with the hiss of enemies. The clones march forward, rain splashing against their boots, visors glowing faintly in the flicker of blaster fire. They don't speak. They don't hesitate. They don't feel. You realize, in that instant, the silence is more than comms. It is the galaxy itself, reshaped into obedience, a galaxy where your voice, your name, your life no longer matter. You parry another bolt, sparks flying, the rain steaming against your blade. Your muscles ache, your lungs burn, but you fight. Not to win, not even to survive. You fight because fighting is the only thing left. You fight because silence cannot have you. The alley walls shake as another volley slams into them, debris raining down. You push forward, driving through the storm, your saber carving light through the darkness. You cut through the first line, sparks showering against the rain, but more step in to replace them. Always more, always endless. You backpedal, your feet slipping on the slick stone, the comm link falling from your belt, splashing into the water at your feet. You glance at it, the small device half submerged, its casing cracked. You think of picking it up. You think of trying again. One more call, one more plea. But as the rain drowns it, sparks flickering from its shell, you realize the truth. There's no one left to answer. Your breath catches. Your chest feels hollow, empty, raw. You look up at the clones advancing, rifles glowing, and the truth settles into you like a blade. The galaxy has gone silent, the Jedi are gone, and you are already a ghost. The rain drowns the world, the blasters fire again, and in that instant, heart hammering, saber trembling, you realize the silence isn't the end, it's only the beginning. It begins the moment you step off-world. You expect relief when the temple smoke fades behind the stars, but the ache in your chest follows you across hyperspace. You think maybe, just maybe, another planet will offer shelter, that you'll find allies hiding in the cracks of the galaxy. But the instant your boots touch foreign soil, you feel it. The eyes, always the eyes, watching you from alleys, from windows, from crowded plazas. Eyes that linger too long. Eyes that whisper without sound, you don't belong here. The first world you land on smells of spice and oil, its air thick with the exhaust of freighters too old to be flying. The spaceport hums with noise, vendors shouting over one another, gamblers slamming down credits, droids trundling through puddles of leaking fuel. To anyone else, it's just chaos. To you, it's danger. Every voice hides intent, every hand hides a blaster. You pull your hood tighter, your robes heavy with soot and rain, your saber tucked away so deep it feels like it doesn't exist. Once you carried it proudly on your hip, a beacon of hope. Now it's a death sentence you dare not reveal. The whispers reach you before the hunters do. Big bounty, someone mutters near the cantina doors. Jedi credits, worth more than spice runs. You keep walking, head bowed, pulse quickening. You can't tell if they saw you. You can't tell if they know. But the word Jedi slithers through the crowd like poison, curling into every ear, souring the air. You slip into the alleys, the walls dripping with moisture, the stench of rot clinging to the stones. Your boots splash through puddles that reek of fuel and sewage. You hear footsteps behind you, soft at first, then quicker. You glance back and see shadows shifting. Figures moving where they shouldn't. You know that walk. Hunters, predators drawn to prey. Your hand itches toward your saber, but you force it down. Not here, not now. Fighting only draws more eyes. Survival isn't about victory anymore. It's about disappearing. You duck into a side passage, pressing against the wall as two figures pass by. They're armored, helmets dented and painted with strange sigils. Their rifles hang loose, but their posture tells you they're ready. You hold your breath, the wall cold against your back, your heart pounding loud enough you're sure they can hear it. One of them pauses, visor tilting as if sniffing the air. You freeze. The silence stretches thin, ready to snap. Then, finally, they move on. Their boots fade into the distance, leaving you in the dark with your own ragged breathing. You push deeper into the city, but the sensation never fades. The hunters are everywhere. Not just bounty hunters, but informants. Civilians with nothing but empty pockets and hungry eyes. The Empire doesn't need to chase you with armies anymore. It just needs to whisper the right price, and the galaxy will deliver you bound and gagged. Every face in the market could be the one that betrays you. Every kind smile hides the question, what are you worth? You remember when you once walked these kinds of streets openly, when people bowed their heads in respect, when the name Jedi carried safety instead of danger. You remember how children tugged at your robe, asking to see the lightsaber, asking to hear stories of the Clone Wars. Now those same streets feel like traps. Those same children are taught to spit at your name, and every corner hides a bounty board flashing your face. The galaxy that once praised you now hunts you, not with hatred but with hunger. Hunger for survival, hunger for credits, hunger for anything in a galaxy starved of hope. Your journey drags you from world to world. Dusty outposts where the air tastes of rust and sweat. Frozen moons where the silence cuts sharper than any blade. Jungle planets where every insect bite festers, and the shadows hide eyes that never blink. And always, always, the hunters follow. Some wear Mandalorian armor, their steps heavy with purpose. Others wear rags, carrying nothing but knives and desperation. Some are quiet, lurking in corners, waiting for the right moment to strike. Others shout your name openly, trying to flush you into the light. One night, on a desert world, you find yourself cornered in the wreckage of an old starship. The hull groans in the wind, sand scraping against the metal like teeth. A figure steps into the moonlight, helmet reflecting pale silver. You recognize the stance instantly. A professional, a killer. His blaster points at your chest, steady, unshaking. His voice cuts through the silence. Don't make this hard. You should ignite your saber. You should fight. That's what you've always done. But your hand hovers, trembling. You think of the noise it will make, the attention it will draw, the eyes it will attract. You think of the child you saw begging in the market, skin stretched thin from hunger. You think of the mother you overheard whispering about the credits on Jedi heads, her voice breaking as she admitted it was the only way to feed her family. You wonder if this hunter sees you as a prize or as salvation. You move before you can think, hurling sand into his visor with the Force, his aim breaking as you dive into the shadows. Blaster bolts carve fire into the night as you run, heart hammering, lungs burning. You don't fight him, you don't kill him, you just disappear. Because survival isn't about winning anymore, it's about not being seen. And yet the galaxy sees you everywhere. On a smuggler's moon, a hollow screen flicker is with your image, grainy but unmistakable. Wanted for treason, the caption reads. Reward, dead or alive. Faces in the crowd turn, conversations hush. You lower your head, pulling your hood tighter, your chest tightening as you slip into the shadows. But you know some of those eyes will follow, some will whisper, some will sell you out before the night is over. The paranoia eats at you. Every tavern feels like a trap, every inn feels like a prison. You stop sleeping, your eyes darting to every door, every window, every shadow. The air tastes of sweat and fear, your own breath sour as you whisper to yourself in the dark, don't trust them, don't trust anyone. And yet trust creeps in anyway, a hand offering bread, a voice offering shelter. For a moment you want to believe. For a moment you want to remember what it felt like to rely on others. But then you see the glint of a comlink in their palm, the subtle glance toward the door, and you're running again before the betrayal even comes. There's a moment, brief, fleeting, when you find a child in the alleys of a smuggler's port. Their eyes are wide, frightened, but not of you. They whisper, "Are you a Jedi?" Their voice is filled with awe, with hope. For the first time in what feels like years, you almost smile. You nod, just barely. Their face lights up and you feel something stir in your chest. But then their older brother appears, dragging them back, whispering harshly, "Don't talk to him. He's dangerous." The child looks back at you with tears in their eyes, and the moment dies. That's the galaxy now. Even innocence has been taught to fear you. You move again from world to world, system to system. The hunters never tire. The bounties never shrink, and with each close call, you realize the truth. Survival isn't about lightsabers or the Force. It isn't about battles or victories. It's about hiding, about blending into shadows so deep you forget your own reflection. You learn to keep your saber buried, to let the Force slip quiet within you, to move like smoke through the cracks of the galaxy. You are not a warrior anymore. You are prey. And as the days turn to weeks, the weeks to months, you begin to wonder if the hunters will ever stop, if the galaxy will ever forget, or if you are doomed to wander forever, nameless, voiceless, faceless, waiting for the day your luck finally runs dry. The rain falls heavy on the rooftop where you crouch now, watching the crowd below. Bounty posters flicker against the walls, your face staring back at you, grainy but unmistakable. The crowd moves beneath them, eyes darting, hands clutching comlinks, credits, blasters. You know some of them will call it in. You know some of them are already reaching for their weapons. You grip the ledge tighter, your breath fogging in the cold night air, and then you see him, a figure in the crowd, armored, helmet painted with the marks of a clan you once read about in whispered stories. His visor lifts, just slightly, and though you cannot see his eyes, you feel the weight of his gaze. He doesn't move toward you. He doesn't raise a weapon. He just watches, waiting. The storm howls around you, the posters flicker brighter, the crowd shifts uneasily, and in that moment you realize the hunt is no longer in the shadows. The hunt is everywhere. The galaxy itself has become the hunter. The first thing you lose is your name. It slips away like water through cupped hands, fragile and fleeting. You stop speaking it aloud, stop answering to it, stop even thinking it when you lie awake at night. Names are dangerous now. Names draw attention. Names mean recognition, and recognition means death. So you bury your name deep beneath the rags you now wear, alongside the saber you once carried with pride. Your robes are gone. Once they marked you as a guardian of peace, their fabric flowing with quiet dignity. Now they mark you as prey. So you trade them for rags, layers of coarse cloth stiff with sweat and dirt, colors so dull they bleed into the shadows. You smell of smoke, of unwashed nights, of fear too heavy to scrub away. Your hands are blistered, your fingernails caked with grime, your face half hidden beneath a hood that never leaves your head. The galaxy will not see a Jedi anymore. It will see a beggar, a drifter, a ghost. And still, the galaxy looks too closely. Every marketplace feels like a battlefield now, not with blasters and sabers, but with eyes that follow you as you shuffle past stalls, head bowed, eyes that narrow when they catch the faint gleam of something beneath your rags, the awkward weight of a saber you dare not ignite, eyes that linger on your hands when they twitch too quickly, too precisely, betraying the training you can never quite unlearn. You try to mask it, you try to stumble like a drunkard, to cough like a man sick with fever, to move as if the Force has long since abandoned you. But deep down, you know the hunters can smell the truth. Every breath feels stolen. You draw air into your lungs like a thief picking a lock, praying no one notices, praying no one hears. Each exhale fogs in the cold nights, a reminder you're still alive when so many others are not. Survival feels less like a gift and more like a debt you can and never repay. You pass through towns that once cheered the Jedi, where children once held up wooden sticks and called themselves Padawans, laughing in imitation of your kind. Now those same children spit at the sight of you, not because they know who you are. No, that would be too merciful. They spit because their parents told them Jedi are liars, traitors, enemies of peace. The Empire's words drip from their tongues like venom, poisoning even innocence. You hear it in their chants, in their laughter, as they point at posters plastered on crumbling walls. Posters that bear your face, posters that promise riches in exchange for your corpse. The galaxy doesn't need to hunt you, it only needs to let the shadows do the work. Informants wait in every cantina, their ears tuned for the wrong word, their eyes sharp for the wrong movement. A slip of your hood, a reflex too quick, a phrase too old, and the alarm will spread faster than fire. You've seen it happen. On one world, you sat in the corner of a tavern, pretending to drink, the bitter liquid souring your tongue. A man across the room whispered into a comlink, eyes never leaving you. Minutes later, stormtroopers swarmed the streets, their boots hammering like drums of judgment. You ran that night, lungs burning, legs trembling, the tavern fire behind you lighting the sky. And you knew you could never sit still again. The nights are worse. That's when the shadows press closest, when your thoughts turn against you. You lie awake in damp alleys, the stench of garbage clinging to your rags, rats scurrying near your feet. You grip your saber beneath your chest, its familiar shape hidden beneath layers of cloth, the only thing that reminds you who you once were. But in the silence, doubt whispers louder than the Force. Maybe they were right. Maybe the Jedi were blind. Maybe you deserved this. The whispers burrow deep, gnawing at you until sleep finally drags you under, heavy and restless. Sometimes you dream of the temple, not the temple as it was, but as it is now, burning, screaming, collapsing into ruin. You see younglings crying for you, their voices twisted into echoes, begging for a rescue that never comes. You see clones turning their rifles, faces you knew as brothers suddenly blank and merciless. You wake drenched in sweat, throat raw from screaming into the night, and you realize the worst truth of all. You fear the dreams less than you fear waking up. You learn to hide your saber in the dirt when you sleep. You wrap it in cloth and bury it beneath the ground, marking the spot with a stone. Because if you're caught in the night, if the hunters come, you don't want them to find it on you. You tell yourself you'll dig it up again come morning. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you move on and leave it buried, the soil clutching it like a grave. You wonder how many sabers lie forgotten across the galaxy now, glowing once with promise, now buried in the cold earth. You avoid mirrors. They show you a face you don't recognize. Hollow eyes, sunken cheeks, a beard of neglect. You look less like a Jedi and more like a vagrant, and maybe that's what you are now. A wanderer, a shadow, a ghost clinging to the edges of a galaxy that no longer wants you. But no disguise is perfect. No shadow is deep enough. The hunters still find you. On a swamp world, the air thick with rot, you hear them before you see them. The snap of a twig, the whisper of a rifle bolt sliding into place. You freeze, your body stiff, the muck sucking at your boots. The rain drips from the canopy above, pattering against your hood, sliding down your nose. And then, through the fog, a red dot appears on your chest. You don't think. You dive into the muck, the shot blazing past where your head had been. You crawl through the mud, your fingers sinking into the cold earth, your breath ragged. Another shot tears through the fog, close enough to burn your sleeve. You force yourself deeper into the swamp, each step a battle, each breath a victory. You feel the presence of your pursuers in the force, steady, patient, unrelenting. Hunters who know the chase better than you ever will. You want to ignite your saber. You want to stand tall, to fight, to remind the galaxy what it means to face a Jedi. But you don't, because fighting means light, light means eyes, and eyes mean death. So you keep it buried, you keep yourself buried, you keep crawling through the muck like an animal. Hours later, you emerge into a clearing, your chest heaving, your body caked in filth. The hunters are gone for now, but you know they'll return. They always return. You collapse against a tree, the bark rough against your back, and you laugh. Not because it's funny, not because you want to, but because you realize what you've become. A creature of shadows, a ghost who runs instead of fights, a survivor who lives not through honor, but through hiding, and the laughter tastes bitter in your throat. The galaxy that once cheered you now spits at your name. You see it in the faces of strangers when your hood slips. You hear it in the whispers of bartenders, in the warnings of mothers to their children. You are not a hero anymore. You are a curse, a warning, a reminder of a time the galaxy has been told to forget. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark still smolders. You feel it when you grip your saber. You feel it when a child's eyes linger on you with something more than fear. You feel it when the Force, fractured and distant as it is, still whispers fragments of guidance. The spark is small, fragile, but it is there. And you know the hunters feel it too. That's why they never stop. That's why the galaxy itself seems to conspire against you. Because as long as you live, the spark lives. And sparks can set fire to shadows. The night deepens. You crouch in another alley, your hood pulled low, your breath shallow. The crowd outside moves like a tide, eyes flicking toward posters that glow on every wall. Posters of you, posters promising credits, freedom, favor with the Empire. The hunters are near. You feel them pressing against the edge of your senses, their intent sharp as blades. You know this alley won't hold you forever. You know shadows only protect for so long. A voice cuts through the crowd, calm, cold, familiar. There, you look up. At the end of the alley, a figure steps into view, armor battered but steady, visor glowing faintly in the light. You recognize him. You fought beside him once, shared rations, trusted him. He lifts his blaster, the barrel steady, unwavering. And in that moment, as the shadows shrink and the hunter steps closer, you realize you are not hiding anymore. You are cornered. The first thing you notice is the sound. Not loud, not clear, but faint, like voices carried through a broken radio, half lost between stations. Whispers, they curl through the edges of your mind when you least expect them. soft and splintered, fading the moment you try to listen too closely. Once the Force was a river, steady and sure, carrying you wherever you needed to go. Now it feels like a cracked mirror, shards of light cutting your thoughts, reflections distorted until you don't know what's truth and what's trickery. You sit in the dark, back pressed against the damp wall of a forgotten cellar, the stink of mold and rust filling your nose. Your saber lies across your lap, wrapped in cloth, the only reminder of who you once were. You reach for the Force, closing your eyes, steadying your breath the way you were taught as a youngling in the temple gardens. But instead of calm, you find turbulence. The whispers rise again, fractured voices bleeding into one another, overlapping until they sound like screams. Run, hide, fight, fall. Each word stabs at you like a blade, each command pulling you in a different direction until your chest tightens, until you feel like you're drowning in silence and sound at once. You open your eyes and the cellar spins. The shadows on the walls shift like shapes of creatures waiting to pounce, and for a moment you swear you see faces in them. Jedi faces, the ones you lost. Their mouths move in silent accusation, their eyes hollow, burning with betrayal. You blink and they vanish, replaced only by the dripping pipes and the dust in the air. You rub your eyes, your hands trembling. You tell yourself it isn't real, but the Force never used to lie to you. You remember when it was pure, when you stood on a battlefield and felt every blaster bolt before it fired, when you knew the rhythm of combat, not because you thought but because you felt. When the Force guided your every step like a steady hand on your shoulder. It was clarity then, light cutting through chaos. Now clarity is gone. Now the Force flickers. Sometimes it warns you, saves you. Other times it betrays you, dragging you into danger with promises of safety. You no longer trust it. You no longer trust yourself. The rain hammers above as you leave the cellar, your hood pulled low, your body hunched against the storm. The city streets glisten with puddles, neon lights shimmering across wet stone. You walk with your head down, ears straining for the sound of boots, eyes scanning for reflections in glass. And then you feel it, the ripple, the Force brushing against your skin, prickling the back of your neck, whispering, "Left." You obey, turning sharply into an alley just as a patrol of stormtroopers marches past. Relief floods you, your chest loosening, your heart slowing. The Force saved you, this time. But later that night, in another street, it whispers again, "Go right." You follow, desperate for guidance, only to find yourself face to face with a bounty hunter, his rifle already raised, his visor reflecting your startled eyes. You barely escape, sprinting into the dark, your lungs burning, your trust unraveling with every step. When you finally collapse against a wall, panting, you curse under your breath. The Force is no longer a guide, it's a coin toss, a gamble, and each time you listen, you wonder if it's leading you to survival or to slaughter. The whispers grow bolder when you're alone. They creep into your thoughts at night, when you lie on cold stone, your body aching from flight, your mind heavy with exhaustion. Sometimes they sound like your master's voice, calm and steady, reminding you to focus, to breathe, to endure. Other times they sound like the voices of your fallen friends, begging you to avenge them, demanding you turn your pain into fire. And sometimes the whispers sound like something else entirely, a deeper voice, a darker one that coils through your chest like smoke, whispering promises you swore you'd never hear. You are prey. You could be predator. You could end this. You shake your head, covering your ears, whispering aloud to drown it out. But you know it isn't your ears that hear. It's something deeper, something buried. And you wonder, not for the first time, if the Force itself is fractured, or if it's you. You walk through the market the next day, the air thick with the smell of roasting meat and stale ale. Vendors shout prices, children dart between stalls, and the crowd presses tight. You try to blend, moving with the flow, your hood low, your hands hidden, and then the whispers come again. Stop. You freeze. A man brushes past you, his sleeve brushing yours, and for a moment you feel the cold shape of a concealed knife pressed against your ribs. You step away just as he turns, his hand missing its mark. Your pulse hammers. The Force saved you again. But as you flee the market, heart still pounding, you can't shake the thought, how many times has it lied? How many times has it nearly killed you? You remember the temple masters telling you the Force is balance, neither cruel nor kind. But it feels cruel now. It feels twisted. It feels like a game where the rules change with every move. You find yourself on the edge of the city, crouched beneath the shadow of an abandoned tower. The walls are cracked, the smell of mildew thick, the silence broken only by the drip of water. You close your eyes again, breathing slowly, reaching out into the current of the force. At first, there's nothing. Then the whispers rise again, clearer this time. You hear names. Mies of Jedi. Names of the fallen. You hear your own name, spoken over and over, whispered in tones that sound like both prayer and curse. You open your eyes and the shadows shift. Figures move at the edge of your vision, robes fluttering, sabers glowing faintly. Ghosts. You rise, reaching for your saber, but when you ignite it, the light shows only cracked stone and broken glass. The figures are gone. The whispers fade. You stand there alone, your blade humming in the silence, and you realize your hands are shaking. You extinguish it quickly, clutching it close, as if the light itself might betray you. The days blur together. You run. You hide. You follow the whispers when they help. You ignore them when they don't. And still, doubt festers. Doubt that gnaws at your bones. Doubt that keeps you awake at night, staring into the dark. You used to trust the Force more than anything. Now you flinch when it touches you, like a hand you no longer recognize. One evening, as the sun sets over a barren plain, you find yourself walking alone, the wind sharp against your face, the sky painted in blood-red streaks. The whispers stir again, stronger than ever. They call your name, urging you to stop, to kneel, to listen. Against your better judgment, you do. You drop to your knees in the dust, eyes closed, breath steady. The wind dies, the world stills, and for a moment the Force feels whole again. You hear your master's voice, clear and warm, telling you to hold on, to endure, to survive. Tears sting your eyes, the first you've shed in years. You whisper back, voice breaking, "I'm still here." But then the voice shifts. It deepens. It darkens. The words twist into something else. You are still here. But not for long. You open your eyes and the plain around you is filled with shadows, countless figures moving closer, their eyes glowing, their rifles raised. You scramble to your feet, heart hammering, saber igniting in a blaze of blue. But as the wind howls and the dust swirls, you see nothing, just emptiness, just silence, just the whispers echoing in your skull, mocking, laughing, fading. You collapse back to your knees, chest heaving, sweat dripping down your face. You grip your saber so tightly your knuckles ache. You whisper aloud to the empty sky, "I can't trust you anymore." And the silence answers. You rise slowly, turning toward the horizon. The sun has vanished, leaving only night, and in the distance you see lights moving, not whispers, not shadows, real lights, torches, rifles, hunters. The Force doesn't warn you. The whispers don't guide you. They only laugh, fading into the dark, leaving you alone. Truly alone. And as the hunters close in, their footsteps thundering across the plain, you realize the cruelest truth of all. You can't even trust yourself. It always starts the same way, with a face. You close your eyes and the darkness is not empty. It fills, slowly, inevitably, with the faces of those you lost. They come one at a time as if summoned by the weight of your own guilt, each one sharper than the last. Your master, your friends, the younglings whose laughter once echoed through the halls of the temple. Their eyes stare at you in silence, wide and accusing, until the silence itself cracks into screams. You see their final moments as if you were there with them. Sabers igniting in desperate defense, rifles raised against them, betrayal cutting deeper than blaster fire. You feel every wound they took as if it were your own, every death echoing in your bones until you jolt awake, drenched in sweat, throat raw from screaming into the night. The betrayal doesn't come from the hunters outside. It comes from your own mind. You sit upright, heart pounding, breath shallow, the stench of smoke still clinging to your nostrils, even though the fire is long gone. You tell yourself it's just memory, just dreams, but it doesn't feel like dreams. It feels like the Force itself is dragging you back through the past, making you relive every failure, every death, every moment where you survived when someone else didn't. You wish you could wake to silence, but every night, without fail, the faces return, and every morning, the guilt weighs heavier. You try to push them away, but memory is a prison with no doors. You see Master Shak Ti's calm eyes, broken in her final moment. You see the clones turning on Master Plo Koon, his starfighter erupting in fire against the endless blue of the sky. You see Ayla Secura in the jungle, her saber unlit, trusting her men until the first bolts pierced her back. And you see the children, the ones you swore to protect, screaming as the temple burned. You weren't there to save them. You weren't there to even try. And so their ghosts come to you, night after night, their small hands reaching for you, their mouths forming one single word: why? The Force offers no answer. By day, you walk in silence, keeping your hood low, your saber hidden, your head down. But even then, memory bleeds into the waking world. A glimpse of a child on the street twists into the vision of a youngling you once knew, his face pale and lifeless. The sound of boots on Durasteel echoes with the rhythm of clone troopers marching toward you. The hiss of an igniting engine feels like the snap hiss of a lightsaber, a phantom blade rising against you. You shake your head, telling yourself it isn't real. But the line between memory and reality has blurred so much you're not sure anymore. You eat when you can, though food tastes like ash in your mouth. You drink when you find water, though it burns your throat like fire. You keep moving, always moving, because stopping means thinking, and thinking means remembering. But no matter how far you run, memory follows. The galaxy itself seems to conspire to remind you. Posters of Jedi labeled as traitors glare from walls. Children recite propaganda songs about the fall of the Order. Merchants sell stolen relics, robes, sabers, holocrons, at prices too high for you to even pretend to buy. Each relic feels like another grave marker, another reminder of the Order's death, another reminder of your survival. Survival. The word tastes sour on your tongue. Once, it was a victory. Now it feels like theft, like you stole life from those who deserved it more. You think of the masters who could have led better, taught wiser, fought harder. You think of the children who never got to grow, their sparks extinguished before they could become flames. And then you think of yourself, ragged, broken, hiding in shadows, clinging to life that feels more like punishment than gift. You wonder if the galaxy would have been better if you had fallen with them. The whispers in your dreams feed that doubt. Sometimes they come as the voices of your fallen brothers and sisters. Why did you survive? Sometimes they come as your own voice, twisted, accusing. You should have died with them. Sometimes they come as silence, heavier than words, pressing against your chest until you wake gasping, and yet despite the torment, you cannot let go. You still grip your saber, even if it stays buried beneath rags. You still reach for the Force, even when it lies fractured and cruel. You still move forward, step by step, day by day, as if survival itself is a defiance. You don't know why. Maybe it's instinct, maybe it's hope, or maybe it's just the cruelest trick of all, that you cannot die until you've suffered every memory to its bitter end. One night you find yourself wandering into an abandoned temple, not Jedi, but ancient, carved into stone cliffs long before the Republic's rise. The air is cold, sharp with dust, the walls covered in faded murals of forgotten gods. You light a torch and sit in the center, your knees folded, your saber lying before you like an offering. You try to meditate, to steady your mind, to quiet the memories. For a moment, it works. The air grows still, the whispers fade. You feel only the hum of the torch flame, the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat. But then the memories return, sharper than ever. You see yourself on Geonosis, surrounded by fire and droids, your saber flashing in desperate arcs. You see clones dying around you, their screams mingling with the roar of battle. You see the first time you felt pride in commanding them, pride that now feels like poison. And then you see the Purge again, every tale burning into your mind. The temple collapsing, younglings crying, the clones' rifles flashing red. The images twist together, past and present merging until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You fall forward onto your hands, gasping, the torch sputtering beside you. Tears streak your face, hot against the cold air. You whisper aloud, voice breaking, "I should have been with you." Your words echo in the empty chamber, bouncing off stone like accusations. And in the silence that follows, you hear it again. The faintest whisper, not from memory, not from yourself, from the Force. Maybe you should have. You freeze, chest tightening, the torchlight flickering across your wide eyes. The voice isn't familiar. It isn't comforting. It's cold, detached, a reflection of the doubt already festering in you. You stumble back, knocking over the torch, shadows leaping across the walls. For a moment you see faces again, your brothers, your sisters, their mouths twisted in silent screams. You close your eyes, clutching your saber to your chest, whispering over and over, "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real." But the weight of guilt remains. The days blur again. Each step feels heavier. Each shadow feels darker. You try to tell yourself the memories are just that, memories. But deep down you know they're more. They're scars, the galaxy itself, carved into you. They're chains you can't break. They're reminders that no matter how far you run, you will always carry the dead with you. And one night, when the memories claw deepest, when the whispers grow loudest, you wake not to silence, but to sound, real sound. Boots, voices, rifles being primed in the dark. You scramble to your feet, heart racing, saber clutched in trembling hands. The shadows shift at the edge of your vision, but this time they aren't ghosts. This time they're hunters, real, breathing, relentless. The faces of the dead haunt you still, but now the living have come to finish what the past began. You hear the hum before you see them. It cuts through the night like a memory you thought you'd buried. Sharp, electric, alive. A lightsaber, not the steady hum of a Jedi's blade, filled with calm and purpose, but something harsher, meaner. It growls instead of sings, its pitch bending like a scream swallowed in metal. The sound freezes you where you stand, your hand instinctively reaching for the hilt buried beneath your rag. The hunters you've run from were dangerous, yes, but they never made the force shift around them like this. This is different. This is wrong. The alley is dark, lit only by the glow of distant neon signs flickering through the rain. You press yourself into the shadows, breath shallow, the smell of oil and damp stone thick in your nose. The hum grows louder, closer, until light cuts through the haze. Red, a crimson blade spinning lazily in the hand of a figure cloaked in black. You squint, heart hammering, and when their face tilts toward you, the blood drains from yours. Because you know them, not their name. You can't place it, but the way they move, the way their shoulders square, the way the force coils around them. Jedi training, familiar, intimate, terrifying. The figure speaks. Voice distorted by a modulator but carrying something beneath it, something you recognize. Pain. You can't run forever. You swallow hard, your throat dry. They step into the light fully, and you see the armor. Dark, segmented, lined with sharp edges like teeth. Their saber spins, its second blade igniting with a hiss, forming a circle of burning red. Your stomach twists. The temple archives never held records of weapons like that. This is something new, something born from cruelty, not discipline. You ignite your blade without thinking, the blue glow clashing violently against their red. For a moment the alley is bathed in color, blue and crimson, light and shadow, up, and then they strike. Fast, too fast. You parry on instinct, the vibration rattling your bones. The force floods your veins, guiding your movements, but it feels sluggish, fractured compared to theirs. They fight like you. They anticipate your strikes, mirror your stances, exploit your hesitations. Because once, they were you. You stumble back, your boots splashing in puddles, sparks spraying against the walls as your blades clash again and again. The sound is deafening, the hiss and crackle of plasma echoing in the narrow alley. Your muscles burn, your arms ache, and still they press forward. Relentless. Their eyes glow faintly in the shadow of their helmet, and you see it. Hatred, yes, but also something else, something worse. Hunger. They know your tricks, they know your instincts, they know your fears. You realize with sick clarity that this isn't just a hunter, this isn't just another predator chasing prey. This is a Jedi twisted into something else, something broken, something remade. The blade slams against yours, forcing you to your knees. The rain sizzles against the heat of the sabers, steam curling into the air. They lean closer, their voice a hiss through the modulator. You could have joined us. The words twist into your chest. Joined. The implication burns hotter than the blade pressed against yours. You wonder, how many of them are there? How many Jedi fell not to blaster fire, but to temptation? How many of your brothers and sisters traded the order for survival, for power, for the lie of safety? The thought makes you nauseous. You shove them back with a desperate burst of the force, sending them crashing into the wall, bricks splintering under the impact. You don't wait. You run. Your boots hammer the wet stone, your saber casting blue light as you weave through the alleys, your breath ragged in your throat. Behind you, the red glow returns, steady, certain, patient. They aren't rushing. They aren't desperate. They know they'll catch you eventually. The city twists into a labyrinth of steel and stone, the air thick with the stench of exhaust. You push deeper, ducking through doorways, vaulting fences, stumbling through crowds that part in panic at the sight of your blade. But no matter how far you run, the whispers follow. Their voice threads through the force, whispering into your mind. You can't hide. You're like me. You'll see it soon enough. You burst into an abandoned factory, its roof half collapsed, its machinery rusted and groaning. You stumble to a stop, chest heaving, saber trembling in your grip. The silence presses heavy, broken only by the drip of water and the buzz of distant neon, and then the red glow fills the space. They step through the doorway, calm, controlled, spinning their saber with predatory ease. You raise your blade, your arms shaking, your body screaming with exhaustion. The fight begins again. Sparks rain as sabers crash, the factory echoing with the hiss of plasma. You push, twist, parry, but they match you step for step. Every move you make they know. Every feint, every strike, every breath. They are your reflection, but darker, sharper, merciless. The fight drags you across the factory floor, through collapsed beams and shattered glass. Your muscles scream, sweat stings your eyes, the taste of blood fills your mouth where you bit your tongue. And still, they press you. They aren't trying to kill you, not yet. They're testing you, measuring you. They want to see how long you last before you break. Finally, they shove you back against a pillar, their blade pressing against yours, sparks screaming between you. They lean close again, their breath hissing through the modulator. You feel it, don't you? The doubt, the anger, the guilt. It's already inside you. You're already falling. The words cut deeper than their blade, because part of you knows they're right. You have felt it. The whispers in the force, the weight of guilt, the gnawing hunger for something, anything that would make it stop. You want to scream at them, deny it, insist you're still Jedi, but the word feels hollow now, empty. You shove them back again, using the force to collapse a section of scaffolding between you. Metal crashes, sparks flying, dust choking the air. You don't wait to see if it holds them. You run again, stumbling through the wreckage, lungs burning. You burst into the night, the rain washing blood and sweat from your face, your saber flickering weak in your grip. You look back once. The factory glows red from within, shadows moving against the light. They're still there, still hunting, still waiting. You press your back against a wall, chest heaving, eyes wide. The city stretches before you, endless and cold, filled with hunters you can't escape. And now, there are more than clones, more than bounty hunters. There are inquisitors, fallen Jedi, who know your every instinct, your every weakness, your every fear, because once they were you. And as the rain hammers down and the night closes in, you realize something that makes your stomach turn cold. If they could fall, so could you. The red glow flickers at the end of the street, and you know this is only the beginning. It begins with hesitation, just a breath, just a heartbeat, just a single second when you tell yourself you can't, that you won't, that there's still a shred of the man you once trusted staring back at you through the visor of a clone trooper's helmet, or the hint of innocence lingering in the eyes of a trembling civilian pointing a blaster with shaking hands. That second, the one where you hesitate, where you choose compassion over instinct, is the second that almost kills you. The alley stinks of oil and damp stone, the walls dripping with rain that trickles into the grime below. You press yourself into the shadows, saber unlit, hood low, chest heaving from the sprint that carried you here. And then you see them, a patrol of clones, 5 of them, helmets gleaming under flickering street lamps. Their boots strike the Duracrete in rhythm, the sound echoing down the narrow street like a funeral drum. You should ignite your blade. You should cut them down before they see you. But when your eyes land on the one in the lead, you freeze. His gait, his posture, even the slight tilt of his helmet. It's familiar, too familiar. Memories rise unbidden, his voice shouting orders beside you, his laughter around a campfire, the way he clapped your shoulder after your first hard-won victory. For a moment you almost whisper his name. For a moment you forget the war is over, and that moment costs you. The clone's visor locks on you, his rifle rises, the others follow, movements precise, unhesitating. Blaster fire screams through the alley, red bolts lighting up the rain. You throw yourself aside, your saber sparking to life with a desperate hum, deflecting shot after shot. The heat sears your palms, the vibration rattles your arms, the acrid smell of ozone fills your nose. You fight not to kill, not yet, but to escape. Your strikes are defensive, careful, controlled. Mercy still clings. To you, like chain. You push them back long enough to vanish into the dark, your heart hammering, your breath burning. But the truth lingers, heavy and undeniable. Mercy almost killed you. It doesn't end with clones. Later, in a crowded marketplace, the air thick with the smell of spice and sweat, you feel the eyes on you again. You duck through stalls, hood pulled low, pretending to browse wares you cannot afford. And then you see her, a woman, middle-aged, her hands trembling as she points a small blaster at your chest. Her eyes are wide, her lips quivering. You can see the fear in her, the desperation. She whispers, "Please, I need the credits." You should move. You should disarm her. But you see the tears brimming in her eyes, the way her hands shake so badly she can barely keep the weapon steady. You think of the propaganda you've heard in every tavern and square, the Empire rewarding those who turn in Jedi. You imagine her children, hungry and cold, waiting at home, and for a heartbeat, your resolve cracks. You lower your hand, you whisper back, "You don't have to do this." The blaster fires. It misses your heart by inches, searing across your ribs, the heat slicing through fabric and flesh. Pain explodes in your chest, your knees buckling, the taste of blood flooding your mouth. You stagger, ignite your saber, the glow casting her terrified face in blue light. She screams, dropping the blaster, falling to her knees. The crowd scatters in panic, voices rising, boots slamming against the ground. And you stand there, bleeding, shaking, staring at the woman you almost spared yourself into a grave for. You don't kill her. You can't. Instead, you run again, clutching your side, her voice following you through the alleys. I'm sorry. The words echo in your skull, but the pain in your chest tells you the truth. Mercy is a trap. Compassion is a weapon. Every time you hesitate, the galaxy tries to bury you. The lesson repeats itself, again and again. On a jungle world, you find a squad of clones tracking you through the underbrush, their rifles cutting through ferns and vines. You set traps, push fallen logs into their path, use the Force to mislead them, but when one of them falls behind, wounded and gasping, you freeze. He collapses into the mud, clutching his leg, his rifle just out of reach. He groans your name, not the word traitor, not Jedi, your name. The one he used to call you when you sat beside him at the fire, laughing at stories shared under alien skies. You should end it. You should strike. But you can't. Not when he says it like that. You take a step closer. His eyes meet yours through the visor, and for a heartbeat, you see your brother again. And then the trap springs. A mine detonates beneath your feet, shrapnel tearing into your arm, fire searing your skin. The clones swarm from the trees, rifles blazing, their voices cold and sharp. You stagger back, saber spinning, every strike driven by survival, not mercy anymore. You barely escape with your life, bleeding into the soil, your body scarred, your trust shattered. You realize the truth as you collapse against a tree, chest heaving, vision blurred. The past is a weapon. They use it against you. They know you remember. They know you hesitate, and every hesitation becomes another chain around your neck, another wound in your flesh. The galaxy has turned your compassion into a weakness. The very thing that made you Jedi now makes you pray. You tell yourself you'll harden, that you'll stop hesitating, that the next time you won't falter. But when the faces come, when the voices whisper your name, you know the truth. You'll falter again, because no matter how many times it betrays you, mercy still clings to your chest like a scar that refuses to heal. You remember the words you once heard in the temple, "A Jedi does not cling to attachments. A Jedi must let go." But how do you let go of memories carved into your bones? How do you strike down a man who once carried you from the battlefield when your own legs failed? How do you silence a woman's plea when you hear your own mother's voice in her trembling? The Order taught you discipline, but not this. Not how to survive when survival means killing the people you once swore to protect. So you hesitate, again and again, and every hesitation tightens the noose. The storm breaks overhead as you stumble through another nameless world, rain hammering against your hood, mud sucking at your boots. Your wounds sting, your body aches, your mind spirals with guilt and doubt. You whisper to yourself, voice shaking, That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The rain drowns your words, but the truth is heavier than the storm. You crest a hill, the city sprawled below you, its lights flickering through the downpour. You think maybe, just maybe, you'll find shelter. But then you see them. Torches moving through the streets, armored figures marching in formation, not clones this time. Inquisitors. Their blades glow crimson in the rain, their voices cold, their presence heavy in the force. And behind them, civilians. Men, women, children, each one carrying stones, knives, crude weapons, their faces twisted not with fear, but with hatred. The Inquisitors stop in the square, their blades humming, their voices carrying through the storm. "Bring us the Jedi!" The civilians cheer, cheer, their voices rise into the night, drowning the rain, the sound piercing into your chest like daggers. And you realize the cruelest truth of all: mercy won't save you here. Mercy won't save you anywhere, because the galaxy itself has turned against you. Your legs tremble, your breath catches, your grip on your saber tightens. The rain blinds your eyes, the storm drowns your ears, but one truth cuts through the noise. Every act of compassion is a trap. Every hesitation is another grave waiting to close. And as the Inquisitors lift their blades and the crowd begins to move, you realize with sickening certainty, you're already standing in the next trap. It's the silence that breaks you. Not the silence of meditation, that calm, deliberate stillness you once embraced in the gardens of the temple, but a silence heavy and suffocating, a silence that presses into your ears until your skull aches, until your thoughts scream just to remind you that you still exist. You sit in the dark corner of a half-collapsed shelter, back pressed against a wall that leaks cold through every stone, a bowl of scraps balanced on your knees. The food tastes of rot and rust, each bite gritty, each swallow catching in your throat. You eat it anyway, because hunger doesn't care about pride, and pride doesn't keep you alive anymore. You used to command armies. You remember the weight of responsibility, the way entire battalions waited for your word before moving. You remember issuing orders that shifted battles, victories won because thousands trusted you, followed you, believed in you. And now? Now you can't speak your own name without fear. The syllables feel foreign in your mouth, bitter and sharp, like they belong to someone else. Someone long dead. The scraps are gone before you realize it, your stomach still twisting with hunger. You set the bowl aside, the sound echoing too loudly in the empty shelter. Your eyes drift to the entrance, where shadows stretch across the ground, twitching with every flicker of light outside. Once, shadows comforted you. You were taught to see them as balance, as part of the whole. Now, they feel like enemies. You study them too long, waiting for them to move on their own. Sometimes they do. Your hands tremble as you pull your cloak tighter, though it does nothing against the cold. The galaxy itself feels colder now, as if hope has drained from it, leaving only a hollow chill that seeps into every bone. You press your palms together, try to summon warmth through the force, but the current feels thin, broken, reluctant. You whisper the old mantra, "There is no death, there is the force," but the words taste wrong, bitter, empty. You stop speaking before you finish. The days blur together. Each one begins with the gnaw of hunger and ends with the weight of fear. You scavenge what you can: stale bread, bruised fruit, scraps left behind by those who can afford more. Sometimes you trade labor for food, though you never stay long enough for faces to remember you. A kind word from a stranger used to mean safety. Now it feels like a noose. Too much attention, too much trust, and the trap will spring. So you keep your hood low, your eyes on the ground, your voice swallowed before it can carry. You don't dare let your name slip, not even to yourself, because if the galaxy hears it, it will use it to kill you. At night the cold grows sharper, the silence heavier. You sit alone, knees pulled to your chest, your saber hidden beneath layers of cloth. You run your fingers over the hilt, tracing its familiar grooves, the metal chilled by the night air. It should comfort you. It should remind you of who you are. But instead it feels like a relic from another life, a weapon that belongs to someone stronger, braver, already dead. You wonder if you're dishonoring it just by holding on. You don't speak aloud anymore. Not prayers, not names, not even curses. Words used to bind you to others, soldiers, friends, brothers. Now words only betray you. The last time you spoke too freely, a tavern turned on you, their whispers carried faster than your footsteps. You barely escaped the troopers who came that night. Since then, you've learned. You let silence speak for you. You let your hood hide your eyes. You become no one because no one is safe. The memories haunt you louder than any sound. You remember standing at the head of legions, banners snapping in the wind, the air alive with purpose. You remember clone troopers calling you general, their voices filled with trust, their faces open and real when the helmets came off. You remember laughter, camaraderie, warmth. Now those memories feel like ghosts pressing in on you, mocking you for what you've become. You were once a leader. Now you are a shadow. You were once a symbol. Now you are a secret. You find yourself staring at reflections in puddles, at the hollow face staring back, eyes sunken, beard unkempt, lines etched by exhaustion. You barely recognize yourself. The reflection looks older, harder, emptier. You wonder if this is the punishment you deserve, to live long enough to become a stranger to your own reflection. The galaxy outside keeps moving, but you remain still. Traders haggle, ships launch, children laugh in streets, troopers march in patrols. Life continues as if the Jedi never existed, as if you never existed. That's what cuts deepest. Not the hatred, not the fear, but the indifference. The galaxy didn't just turn on you, it moved on without you, and in that movement, it left you behind, a relic of a war no one remembers with pride. You curl tighter in your cloak, breath fogging in the cold, and whisper to yourself, barely audible, "That's why it sucked to be a Jedi." The words hang in the air, brittle and broken, swallowed by silence. You almost laugh, almost. But laughter feels dangerous now, too loud, too alive, too much like someone who still believes they matter. The isolation grows heavier with each passing day. You can't risk friendship, you can't risk trust. Every time you see a hand extended, you imagine the knife hidden behind it. Every time you hear a kind word, you imagine the call being made to stormtroopers. You don't let yourself believe in allies anymore, because allies are gone. Brothers are gone, trust is gone, and so you sit in silence, eating scraps, hiding your name, clutching a saber you dare not ignite. You live not as a Jedi, not even as a man, but as an echo, a ghost that the galaxy would rather forget. But the galaxy hasn't forgotten you. One night, as you crouch in your shelter, chewing on stale bread, you feel it, not sound, not sight, the Force. It ripples through you, sharp and sudden, prickling the back of your neck, a presence, cold, familiar, heavy. You freeze, your breath caught in your throat, your hand tightening on your saber. The shadows outside shift, boots crunch softly against stone. You strain your ears, heart hammering. Voices murmur low, too quiet to make out, but the cadence chills you. It isn't stormtroopers, it isn't bounty hunters, it's something darker, something you felt once before in the factory, when red blades cut through the night. You extinguish your torch, plunging the shelter into darkness. Your chest rises and falls in ragged rhythm, your saber clutched tight in trembling hands. The silence presses closer, heavier than before, until you hear it, a hum, low, menacing, a blade igniting, its light spilling crimson into the cracks of the stone. And you realize the cold of isolation has ended, because you are not alone anymore. It begins as a pressure, not sound, not sight, just weight, a heaviness that settles into your chest and makes every breath feel like it's being stolen before it reaches your lungs. At first you think it's exhaustion, another scar left by endless running, endless hiding, but then you realize it isn't your body that trembles. It's the Force itself, and when you reach for it, when you open yourself to the current that once flowed bright and steady, you feel him, Darth Sidious. Not in one place, not in one moment, but everywhere. His presence stretches across the galaxy like a storm without end, thunderclouds smothering the stars. You taste it in the air, metallic, bitter, electric. You smell it in the ashes of burned villages, in the oil of stormtrooper armor, in the acrid stench of starships that blot out the skies. His shadow falls on every world you touch, swallowing hope before it can take root. And you know, with a clarity that freezes your blood, this is no longer just his empire. This is his galaxy. You stumble through the streets of a crowded world, head bowed, hood low. Around you the city thrums with life, vendors shouting prices, children darting through alleys, transports roaring overhead. To anyone else, it looks alive, thriving. But to you, every sound is drowned beneath the hum of his presence. It seeps into the cracks of your mind, whispering promises you refuse to listen to. It's easier if you stop running. It's simpler if you give in. The worst part is not the words. It's the truth in them. You try to shake it, to close yourself off, to bury the force as deep as you can. But his shadow is inescapable. On a desert world, you feel it in the heat of the suns, in the way the horizon seems to stretch forever, empty and cruel. On a frozen moon, you feel it in the silence of the snow, in the way even the wind refuses to carry warmth, in the crowded underworld. Eld of Coruscant, you feel it in every whisper, in every pair of eyes that flicks toward you and then away, knowing the Empire's gaze is everywhere. You remember the temple archives, the stories of the Sith, ancient warnings, teachings recited by masters whose voices you once trusted. They spoke of the dark side as a wound in the Force, a corruption that spread wherever it touched. You thought it was metaphor, philosophy. Now, walking through streets that feel colder with every step, you realize it was prophecy. The wound is here, wide and festering, and it has a name, Sidious. At night, the dreams come. You see him on a throne of black stone, his eyes burning like molten fire, his mouth twisted into a smile that drips with venom. His voice cuts through your skull, deeper than words, a vibration that rattles your bones. You are mine already. You wake gasping, drenched in sweat, the stink of fear clinging to your skin, and even awake, you feel him still, as if his hand never left your throat. You whisper the old mantras in the dark, clinging to them like lifelines. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. But the words falter. They feel thin, brittle, meaningless beneath the weight of his shadow. You try to remember the calm of the gardens, the warmth of the council chamber, the laughter of younglings. But those memories feel dim, smothered beneath the smoke of a fire that never stops burning. Everywhere you go, the galaxy bears his mark. Hollow screens in marketplaces show his face, smiling, benevolent, while his stormtroopers march behind him in endless lines. Civilians cheer, their voices ringing out with rehearsed devotion, their eyes hollow even as their mouths smile. You hear them chant his name as if it were salvation, and the sound twists in your gut, because you know the truth. You know what lurks beneath the mask. You know the price they've already paid, even if they don't. You keep your hood low, your steps quiet, your breaths shallow. But no matter how small you make yourself, you feel exposed, because he isn't just a man anymore. He's a shadow that stretches farther than light can reach, and his gaze is the galaxy itself. You hear his whispers in every crowd, feel his presence in every patrol, see his hand in every betrayal. He doesn't need to chase you, he only needs to wait, because eventually his shadow will catch you. One evening, you find yourself in the ruins of an old temple, not Jedi, not Sith, something older still. The stone is cracked, vines crawling across walls etched with symbols you don't recognize. You kneel in the center, desperate, trembling, reaching for the Force, for clarity, for guidance, for anything. And at first it comes, a flicker of light, a whisper of calm. The Force touches you like it used to, soft and steady, reminding you that you are not alone. Relief washes over you, tears stinging your eyes. For a moment you believe, and then the light dims. The air grows cold, the shadows deepen, and his presence fills the chamber, pressing down on you like a mountain. You hear his laughter, low and cruel, echoing off the stone. The vines tremble, the walls shudder, the torchlight flickers. You clutch your saber, your breath coming fast, your heart pounding. And then his voice slithers into your mind. Even here, you cannot escape me. Even here, you are mine. You scream, igniting your blade, the blue light casting frantic shadows against the walls. You slash at the darkness, at the vines, at the stone, your strikes wild and desperate. Sparks fly, dust fills the air, your blade hums with every frantic wing. But when you stop, panting, trembling, the shadow remains. His presence lingers, his laughter echoes, and you realize you were never fighting the room. You were fighting yourself. You collapse to your knees, your saber clattering against the floor, its light extinguished. You press your hands to your head, whispering over and over, "Get out, get out, get out." But the shadow doesn't leave. It never leaves, because it isn't just out there anymore. It's inside you. You stagger from the ruins into the night, the stars hidden behind thick clouds, the air cold against your sweat. You look up, searching for a single point of light, a single sign that hope still exists. But the sky is empty, smothered, silent. And in that silence, you hear him again. Not laughter this time. a promise. You cannot run forever. When you break, you will kneel. The words echo through you as you stumble into the darkness, your body trembling, your mind heavy. You tell yourself you'll resist. You tell yourself you'll endure. But the shadow lingers, stretching over every step, pressing into every thought. And deep down, you wonder if he's right, if you're already breaking, if you're already his. The night grows colder. The silence deepens, and as you press forward, alone beneath a sky swallowed by shadow, you feel it. Movement in the force. Not Sidious, not his laughter. Something else, something nearer. You stop, breath caught, heart hammering. Red light flickers at the edge of the trees. The Inquisitors are here, and you realize the Emperor's shadow isn't just a feeling, it's flesh, it's blood, it's blades burning red in the night, closing in on you. It begins in memory, not in sound, not in sight, but in the ache that lives in your chest when you think back to the days when the galaxy still had anchors. You remember their voices. You remember their faces, the ones who sat in the circle of the council chamber, bathed in soft sunlight streaming through tall windows. Masters who seemed immovable, untouchable, eternal. Yoda with his quiet patience, his words layered with centuries of wisdom. Mace Windu, sharp and unyielding, his gaze cutting through doubt like a blade through air. Kenobi, steady as stone, carrying the weight of every battle yet still finding a way to smile. You remember them all. The ones who taught you, guided you, believed in you. The ones who raised you when you were still a child taken from a home you would never see again. And yet, they fell. The memory sickens you more than the wounds on your body. Because if they could not stop what came, if even the greatest among you were struck down, hunted, broken, what chance do you have? You are not Yoda. You are not Windu. You are not Kenobi. You are just you. A single fading ember in the ashes of the Order, carrying nothing but scars and a saber you can barely lift without trembling. You sit alone beneath the broken roof of an abandoned outpost, the cold wind howling through shattered walls, the taste of dust in your mouth. The night sky spreads wide above you, but even the stars feel dim, as if the galaxy itself mourns. You close your eyes, trying to summon their voices. You want to hear guidance again, wisdom again. You want to hear Yoda's calm reassurance, to feel Mace's certainty, to see Kenobi's wry resilience. But the only voices that come are the echoes of their end. You see Mace in your mind, his blade burning violet against the night, his teeth clenched, his strength unyielding, and then you see lightning tearing through him, his body cast into darkness. You feel your chest clench as if the lightning still courses through you. You see Kenobi, his face hollow with betrayal as he fought against the brother he called Anakin, blade against blade, tears against rage. You see Yoda, ancient and wise, forced into exile, his silence heavier than 1,000 screams. And you see the chamber itself, the council seats empty, their circle broken forever. The Force was supposed to protect them. The galaxy was supposed to need them, but they fell. And you wonder, not for the first time, if the Jedi were ever what you believed. The memories bleed into your dreams. You stand in the chamber, the great circle surrounding you, but the seats are filled with shadows. Their faces flicker in and out of existence, sometimes clear, sometimes burned, sometimes skeletal. Their voices overlap in whispers, accusing and mournful. We trained you. We trusted you. We fell, and you lived. You shout back, your voice echoing in the hollow chamber. I didn't want to survive, but the shadows only laugh, their voices twisting into the hiss of lightning, the roar of sabers, the silence of death. You wake gasping, drenched in sweat, your saber clutched tight in your shaking hand. The outpost walls loom around you, cracked and hollow, your breath fogging in the cold. You press the hilt to your chest, whispering like a prayer, I can't do this. And for the first time, you realize you believe it. You rise at dawn, the sun bleeding red across the horizon, the wind carrying the smell of smoke from villages burned days ago. You walk slowly, each step heavy, each breath shallow. The shadow of Sidious presses against your spine, whispering that you are alone, that you are weak, that you are already broken. And as much as you want to resist, part of you believes him. You pass through the ruins of a city that once celebrated the Republic's victories. Statues of clone troopers still stand, their faces carved in triumph, banners tattered but still hanging. But the Jedi? Not a single monument, not a single stone. their names erased, their memory branded traitorous. The galaxy remembers the soldiers, but not the ones who led them. Not the council, not the order, not you. You stop at a fountain, its water murky and stagnant. You stare into it, and for a moment you see their faces again. Yoda's eyes closed in meditation. Mace's jaw set in defiance. Kenobi's weary smile. They flicker like reflections in broken glass, and you whisper, "Tell me what to do." The water ripples with the wind, and their faces vanish, leaving only your own hollow eyes staring back. You turn away, but the weight follows you, because deep down, you know the truth. If the council could not stop the purge, if the greatest among you fell, then what chance do you have? The thought burrows into your chest like a parasite, feeding on every doubt, every hesitation. You begin to move slower, to hide longer, to fight less. You tell yourself it's caution, but you know it's fear. You are not the Jedi they were. You are not strong enough, not wise enough, not resilient enough. You are just a remnant, a shadow, and the galaxy has no place for shadows. One night, as you crouch in the ruins of another forgotten place, the whispers return. Not the Force this time, not Sidious. The whispers of memory. You hear Yoda's voice, soft but stern. Fear is the path to the dark side. You hear Windu's command, fight with certainty or do not fight at all. You hear Kenobi's reminder, there is always hope. The words should give you strength, but instead they cut, because you failed them. You failed to live up to them. And their words only remind you of what you are not, the cold of them. Night presses in, the wind howling through broken stone, the taste of ash on your tongue. You curl into yourself, whispering again the refrain that has followed you since the purge. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The words sound broken, hollow, stripped of even the bitter humor they once carried. They feel like truth now, unshakable, unmovable truth. But the galaxy does not let you mourn in silence. The ground trembles beneath your feet, a low hum rising in the distance. You stand, heart racing, eyes scanning the horizon. Lights cut through the dark, beams from ships descending. The sound grows louder, deeper, until the air itself vibrates in your chest. You know this sound. Imperial transports. You clutch your saber, your hands trembling. You don't ignite it. Not yet. You watch the ships land in the ruins, their ramps lowering, their shadows spilling across the ground. And then you see them. Not clones this time, not civilians, inquisitors. Their armor gleams black beneath the moonlight, their sabers glowing crimson as they march in formation. Your chest tightens, your breath catching, because you know what this means. The council fell long ago, the order fell with them, and now they are here to make sure the last remnants fall too. You step back into the shadows, heart pounding, every instinct screaming at you to run. But you know the truth, there is no running from this. Not anymore. Not when the Emperor's shadow has already fallen over you. The Inquisitors lift their blades, their voices echoing through the ruins. Find the Jedi, and you realize, with a chill that cuts deeper than any blade, that you are standing where the Council once stood, alone, outnumbered, surrounded, and you wonder, if they could not survive, how can you? It begins with a sound, not the sound of blasters or the hum of sabers, no, something quieter, softer, a whimper carried through the night air, high-pitched and trembling, so faint it could have been the cry of an animal, but you know better. The force coils around it, faint but undeniable, a whisper tugging at the edges of your mind. You freeze in the ruins of the village, ash still falling like snow from the charred remains of burned homes, the acrid stench of smoke burning your nostrils. You shouldn't stop. You shouldn't linger, but you do, because the sound is more than just a cry. It's a presence. You move cautiously, boots crunching against blackened stone, cloak pulled tight against the chill of the night. Your hand rests on the hilt beneath your rags, though you dare not ignite it. The glow would give you away. The cry comes again, sharper this time, followed by a whisper of voices. You round a collapsed wall, your breath catching in your throat. There, huddled among the rubble, are 3 children. They can't be older than 10. Their clothes are torn, their faces streaked with soot, their small hands clutching one another in desperation. Their eyes widen when they see you, not with relief, but with fear. You take a step forward, raising your hands slowly, palms open, your voice soft. "I'm not here to hurt you." They don't answer. They only stare, trembling, and then you feel it, like sparks in the air, like currents of electricity dancing against your skin. The Force, strong, raw, untrained, but there. It radiates off them, sharp and uncontrolled, flickering with every terrified breath they take. One of them clenches his fists, and the rubble around him trembles. Another's eyes glow faintly, reflecting light that isn't there. The youngest hides her face against the others, but you can feel her too, the Force curling around her like a fragile flame. Your heart twists. You remember faces just like theirs, younger even, back in the temple. Children who ran through the halls with training sabers too big for their hands, their laughter echoing through corridors now drenched in fire and blood. You remember promising them safety, promising that the Order would guide and protect them. And now here they are, scattered in the ashes of a galaxy that has turned against them, abandoned and hunted. You kneel slowly, lowering yourself to their level, your voice barely above a whisper. You're like me. At that, the boy with clenched fists flinches. No, he hisses, shaking his head, his voice cracking. We're nothing. We're no one. His words are rehearsed, parroted. You recognize them instantly. Words drilled into him, words whispered to survive. Who told you that? You ask. But the answer doesn't come. It doesn't have to. The Empire told them. The Hunters told them. The galaxy itself told them. Because in this new order, being what they are isn't a gift. It's a death sentence. You want to tell them they're wrong. You want to tell them that what they feel is light, not shame, that their gift is not a curse. But you stop, because your presence here, your very face, paints a target on their backs. And you know the truth. The longer you stay, the more danger you bring. Still, you can't walk away. Not yet. You reach out through the Force, carefully, gently, the way you were once taught to connect with frightened animals in the wild. You don't push, you don't demand, you only let them feel what's inside you. Not anger, not fear, but sorrow. They flinch at first, but then the youngest peeks at you from behind the others, her small hand trembling as she reaches toward you. Your throat tightens as you extend your own hand, stopping just short, leaving the space for her to choose. Slowly, shakily, she places her fingers against yours. The spark of connection hits you like a wave. You see flashes, not clear, not steady, but fragments of memory. A home burned, parents screaming, the sound of troopers shouting, the red glow of a saber, the children running, hiding, clinging to one another, alone, terrified, forgotten. You pull back before the weight overwhelms you, your breath shaking, your heart heavy. They look at you with wide eyes, waiting. For what? A promise? A command? A miracle? You don't know. You only know one thing. They should not be here, not like this, not hunted, not broken. The night presses colder, the ruins shifting with distant voices. Troopers, hunters, they're searching. You feel the danger pressing in, the Force screaming at you to move. You whisper urgently to the children, you have to leave. Now, hide. Don't let them find you. But the boy shakes his head, his jaw trembling. They'll find us. They always find us. His words cut deeper than any blade, because you know he's right. Your chest aches as you look at them, 3 sparks in the dark, fragile and bright. If you stay, you'll draw fire to them. If you leave, they'll be alone, untrained, defenseless. You remember the younglings in the temple, their tiny sabers clashing in laughter, their eyes filled with wonder. You remember how you swore to protect them, and you wonder if this is the galaxy's cruelest trick, forcing you to break that promise again and again. The voices grow closer, the boots echoing through the ruins, the storm of hunters tightening its circle. You have seconds, maybe less. You grip the boy's shoulder, your voice fierce, desperate. Listen to me. You are not nothing. You are not no one. You are children of the Force, and no matter what they tell you, that means something. He stares at you, tears brimming, his lip trembling. You see the war inside him, the fear drilled into his bones against the truth burning in his veins. For a moment you think you see a spark of belief, but then the youngest gasps, her small hand clutching your sleeve. Her voice shakes. They're here. And she's right. Red light floods the ruins, glowing against the smoke. The hiss of a saber ignites, its sound cutting through the night like a scream. An inquisitor steps into view, their blade spinning, their visor gleaming. Behind them, stormtroopers fan out, rifles raised, their voices sharp. The children freeze, terror radiating off them like a storm. You rise to your feet, saber hilt heavy in your hand, your chest pounding. You want to protect them, you want to save them. But every breath, every heartbeat, tells you the truth. Your presence here has doomed them. The Inquisitor's voice cuts through the night, cold and mocking. Run, little flames. Run before the wind snuffs you out. The children cling to each other, eyes wide, their fear pressing into the Force like a knife. And you stand there, saber unlit, knowing the choice before you. Ignite your blade and draw the fire yourself, or walk away and let them vanish into the dark. The stormtroopers raise their rifles. The Inquisitor takes a step forward. The children's eyes lock on yours, pleading without words. And you realize, with a weight that makes your knees tremble, this choice will damn you no matter what you decide. It begins with relief, that fragile, dangerous feeling that creeps into your chest when you dare to believe you've found safety. The fire has burned too long, the hunger has bitten too deep, the fear has left your body trembling too violently for you to keep moving. And then, you see it. A door cracked open in the night, a hand beckoning you inside, a voice, low and urgent, whispering words you haven't heard in too long. Quick, before they see you. You hesitate because hesitation has kept you alive. But exhaustion wins. Your legs are too heavy, your wounds too raw, your mind too fractured. You step into the shelter, into the warmth of firelight, into the smell of bread and spice. The door shuts behind you with a soft thud, and for the first time in days, maybe weeks, you breathe without choking on smoke. The woman who led you in can't be older than 30. Her hair is tied back, her hands rough from labor, her eyes sharp but kind. She doesn't flinch at your robes, doesn't sneer at your hood. She simply nods toward a chair by the fire, pressing a cup of water into your shaking hands. Drink, she says, her voice gentle. The water is lukewarm, faintly metallic, but it tastes like life itself. It fills the cracks of your throat, cools the fire in your chest. You nearly cry from the simple mercy of it. She brings food next. Bread, stale but edible, cheese hardened at the edges. You eat in silence, each bite tasting of ash and salt, but you devour it anyway. She watches without judgment, only moving to add more wood to the fire when the flames begin to die. When you finally look at her, your voice cracks. Why? Her eyes soften, though a shadow lingers in them. Because you looked like you needed it. The words strike you harder than any blaster bolt. You've been hunted for so long, spat on, cursed, betrayed, that simple kindness feels alien. You bow your head, whispering, "Whoa, thank you." The syllables tremble on your tongue, half forgotten from disuse. For a few hours you allow yourself to believe. You sit by the fire, warmth seeping into your bones, the storm outside muffled by stone walls. The woman asks no questions, demands no answers. She simply lets you exist. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you feel human again. But hope is treacherous. You wake at dawn to the sound of voices, not one, many. You stiffen, hand darting to the hilt beneath your rags. The woman is speaking in hushed tones near the door, her words sharp, urgent. You creep closer, every nerve alight, and then you hear it. The bounty, enough to feed my children for a year. Your chest tightens. The floor tilts beneath your feet. Her kindness, her warmth, her mercy, it was never for you. It was for the credits you carried on your head, painted across posters in every city and outpost. The bread you ate, the water you drank, the fire you sat beside. It was bait. You step back, the room suddenly suffocating. The whispers of the Force claw at you, frantic and broken. Run, hide, fight. The door creaks open, and armored boots step inside. White, gleaming, stormtroopers. Their rifles raise, their visors lock, their voices cold. Don't move. You ignite your saber with a scream of light, the blue glow flooding the room. The woman gasps, stumbling back, eyes wide, not with guilt, but with fear. The troopers fire. Blaster bolts scorch the air, the smell of ozone filling your lungs. You spin, deflect, strike, sparks showering against the walls. The room erupts into chaos, firelight mixing with plasma, the small home collapsing under the storm. You escape through the window, glass shattering, rain slicing your face as you tumble into the mud outside. The stormtroopers shout, boots pounding, blasters firing. You run, lungs burning, legs screaming, the betrayal pounding in your chest harder than your heart. You don't look back, you can't, but the betrayal follows you. It happens again and again. On a mining world, a man with oil-stained hands hides you in his shed, feeding you scraps, whispering that he remembers the Jedi with respect. You almost believe him, until you see the Imperial beacon pulsing faintly beneath the hay where you slept. You destroy it and flee, his curses chasing you into the night. On a frozen moon, a family offers you shelter from the storm. Their children staring in awe at your saber. They smile, they laugh, they share food. And then, at dawn, you hear the mother whisper to her husband, "The reward will keep us alive through winter." You slip out before the troopers arrive, your footprints vanishing in the snow as their shouts echo behind you. On a smuggler's port, a man swears loyalty, swears secrecy, swears he owes his life to the Jedi. You let him guide you through the alleys, your chest daring to feel light again, and then he turns, blaster in hand, the barrel aimed at your chest. His eyes don't burn with hatred, they burn with hunger. Hunger for survival, hunger for credits, hunger for anything in a galaxy stripped bare by fear. Every act of kindness becomes a blade. Every whisper of hope becomes a trap. The galaxy has learned too well. Turning in a Jedi doesn't just mean survival, it means reward. You curl tighter into yourself with each betrayal, your hood lower, your voice quieter, your steps softer. You stop asking for help. You stop looking for kindness. You stop believing in allies. Because the lesson repeats over and over until it carves itself into your bones. Hope is the most dangerous trap of all. The Force feels fractured, mocking. Each time you reach for guidance, it shows you glimpses of light, faces smiling, hands extended, doors open, and every time that light leads you into darkness. You begin to wonder if the Force itself has turned against you, if it laughs as you stumble into betrayal after betrayal. You whisper to yourself in the dark, the words bitter, broken. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The storm grows heavier as you move through another nameless town, rain hammering against the rooftops, mud sucking at your boots. Posters of your face flicker on walls, their captions bold, "Wanted for treason, dead or alive." Civilians pass by, their eyes flicking to you, then away, their lips tight, their hands clutching comlinks. You know some of them are already sending word. You can almost feel the noose tightening. You duck into an alley, pressing against the wall, your breath shallow. For a moment, you let yourself believe you'll escape again. For a moment, you let yourself believe you can keep running. But then you hear it, the hum, low, sharp, menacing, a blade igniting. Red light spills into the alley, glowing against the rain. An Inquisitor steps into view, their visor gleaming, their sabers spinning lazily in their hand. Behind them, stormtroopers fan out, rifles raised, their visors reflecting crimson. The Inquisitor tilts their head, their voice distorted, cruel. "Every time you hope, you make it easier for us." The rain hisses against your saber as you ignite it, the blue glow clashing against their red. Your heart pounds, your breath fogs, your chest aches with betrayal and rage. You know the truth now. Hope has betrayed you, kindness has betrayed you, the galaxy itself has betrayed you. And as the Inquisitor raises their blade, their troopers tightening the circle, you realize the cruelest betrayal of all. You still hoped anyway. It begins as a whisper, not from the shadows outside, not from the hunters that stalk you, but from somewhere deeper, inside your own skull, inside your own chest, coiled like a serpent, waiting for the right moment to strike. At first you mistake it for the Force, a fractured echo of the guidance you once trusted with every fiber of your being. But the more you listen, the more you realize, this is no guidance, this is corrosion, this is doubt. It starts with questions, small, almost innocent. Were the Jedi blind? The words gnaw at you as you crouch in the ruins of a burned-out farmhouse, the stench of charred wood thick in your lungs, the taste of ash clinging to your tongue. You stare at the blue blade humming in your hand, its light reflecting against broken glass, and the question rises again. Were we blind? You remember the temple, the great halls echoing with certainty, the council speaking with voices that left no room for question. You remember masters saying the Jedi were peacekeepers, guardians of balance. But then you remember the war. You remember the moment you were handed command of soldiers bred only for battle, told to lead them in a conflict you barely understood. You remember strategy meetings that felt more like war councils, orders delivered with the cold precision of generals, not guardians. And the whisper sharpens, cutting deeper. Were you fools in a war that was never yours to win? You press your hands to your head, the hum of your saber extinguished, leaving you in darkness. The whispers do not fade. They multiply. The Jedi were not generals, yet you led armies. The Jedi were not conquerors, yet you took worlds. The Jedi were not executioners, yet how many did you kill in the name of peace? Each question is a blade, each memory a wound that never healed. You stumble into the night, desperate to escape, though you know you can't outrun thoughts. And the air is cold, the rain slicing across your face, dripping down your hood, soaking your cloak. You breathe hard, each inhale sharp with the stench of rot from the streets. The whispers follow, louder now, threading through the storm. You were pawns, you were weapons. You were never peacekeepers, you were tools, and you broke in their hands. The words coil through you until you can't tell if they are lies or truths. Maybe they are both. Maybe it doesn't matter, because they feel real. They feel heavy. They feel like poison in your blood. You collapse beneath an awning, your knees hitting stone, your palms pressed against the ground. You whisper aloud, voice trembling, "Stop, please." But the whispers don't stop. They hiss into your ears, slip into your veins, curl around your heart. They sound like your masters, your brothers, your own voice twisted into echoes. The Jedi thought they could save the galaxy. They couldn't even save themselves. You think back to every battle, every planet, every soldier who fell under your command. You told yourself it was for peace. You told yourself it was for balance. But what balance lies in fields of corpses? What peace lies in cities reduced to rubble? You feel the doubt spreading, heavier, darker, until it drowns even the memory of why you fought at all. The Force feels different now. Not a current to guide you, not a flame to warm you, but a mirror cracked in your hands. You reach for it, desperate for clarity, but all it shows you is your own reflection, broken, bloodied, hollow. You see your face in every ripple, your eyes dark, your jaw clenched, your saber raised against enemies who were once allies. You see yourself becoming the very thing you swore to fight, and the whisper laughs. Maybe you already have. You push yourself up, staggering into the rain, forcing your legs to move. You can't stop. Stopping means listening. Listening means believing. So you move, stumbling through alleys, past shuttered windows and posters plastered with your face. Wanted, treason, dead or alive. Each one feels like proof. Each one a brand burned into your skin. You pass a child in the street, her eyes wide as she stares at you, clutching a doll carved of wood. For a moment, you see hope in her gaze, a flicker of awe. You almost smile, but then her mother pulls her close, whispers sharp in her ear, and the child's eyes harden into something else. Fear, hatred. The whisper in your head twists the knife. Even children know you're a traitor. Even they see you for what you are. You stumble onward, the weight in your chest growing heavier. You whisper to yourself, as if saying it aloud will make it true. We were peacekeepers. We were protectors. But the whisper interrupts, cruel and cold. Were you? Or were you just soldiers in robes, too blind to see the war wasn't yours? The question lingers. It festers, and you can't answer it. You take shelter in a cave outside the city, the walls slick with moisture, the air heavy with the smell of earth. You sit in the dark, your knees pulled to your chest, your saber across your lap. The hum of rain outside echoes through the stone, a rhythm that only fuels the whispers. You close your eyes, trying to meditate, trying to find silence. But silence is gone. The whispers flood in. You fought for a republic that abandoned you. You obeyed a council that fell. You trusted an order that blinded itself, and now you sit alone, hiding like a coward, waiting for death. Your breath catches, your chest tightening. You want to deny it. You want to scream that it's not true, but your voice dies in your throat, because part of you believes it. The doubt poisons Eve. Writhing, food tastes like ash, water burns your throat, sleep is a battlefield where the whispers wage war without end. You wake screaming, sweat dripping, hands clutching at shadows that vanish when you blink. You tell yourself it's the dark side, that it's Sidious, that it's the Inquisitors pressing into your mind. But deep down, you fear the truth, that it's only you, that the voice belongs to no one else, that the doubt was always there, waiting for the silence of exile to speak. You walk through another ruined settlement, the smell of smoke clinging to every stone. Bodies lie unburied, covered only by tattered cloth. Civilians pass by, their eyes dull, their shoulders slumped. They don't look at you, they don't care. To them, you are nothing. To them, you were never saviors. The whisper hisses. This was never your war. It was theirs. And they still suffer. What did the Jedi save? The question breaks you. You fall to your knees in the mud, rain soaking your hood, your saber clattering beside you. You clutch your chest, sobs tearing from your throat, louder than you intended, raw and broken. You whisper into the storm, "What was it all for?" The rain answers with silence. The Force offers nothing, and the whisper laughs again. "That's why it sucked to be a Jedi." The words slip from your lips before you realize it, bitter and sharp, a truth you no longer fight. You curl into yourself, rocking in the mud, the storm swallowing your voice. You tell yourself you'll rise, that you'll move, that you'll keep going, but the doubt lingers, thicker than the rain, heavier than the night. And then you feel it, not a whisper, not doubt, something else. A presence pressing into the edges of your mind, cold and cruel, familiar as a scar. You freeze, your heart hammering, your breath caught. Red light flickers in the storm, glowing against the rain. You lift your head slowly, your body trembling, and see them. An inquisitor, their blade ignited, spinning lazily, casting shadows that dance across the ruined street. Their voice cuts through the rain, distorted, mocking. You ask the right questions. Now let me show you the answers. It begins with a face you almost recognize, a flicker of memory across the firelight, a shadow hunched low against the cold, eyes sunken, beard unkempt. You pause, your heart leaping, the syllables of a name catching on your tongue. You want to call it out, to let the word fly into the night and see if it lands true. But you stop yourself, because you've learned the hard way. Names are dangerous now. Names can be traps. Names can get you killed. So instead you stare, the fire between you crackling, the smell of smoke filling your nose, the taste of ash biting the back of your throat. The figure shifts, lifts his head slowly, and then you know, the scar above his brow, the set of his jaw. It's him, a Jedi you fought beside once, a friend, a brother. And yet when his eyes meet yours, there is no recognition, only hollowness. You whisper, voice trembling, "You survive." The words fall into silence. He doesn't answer. He only stares at the fire, his hands trembling faintly in the light. You reach across the gap, desperate, needing connection. "It's me. We fought together. Do you remember?" This time he speaks, but his voice is raw, cracked, stripped of warmth. "I remember too much." The silence that follows is heavier than blaster fire. You see it in him, the fractures, the weight of memory pressing him into the ground. He is alive. Yes, but survival has broken him. He doesn't carry his saber. He doesn't carry hope. He only carries the burden of days that refuse to end. You've seen this before. Too many times. One survivor begged you to kill him. His hands had trembled around your wrists, his eyes wide and wild. "I can't keep running. I can't keep hiding. Please." You refused at first, horrified, but he begged again, louder this time, his voice breaking into sobs. You walked away, leaving him screaming your name into the night. Days later, you heard rumors of a Jedi corpse strung up in a city square, left as warning. You never asked if it was him. You already knew. Another you found on a backwater world, his robes torn, his saber crimson. He had fallen, fully and completely, his voice cold as he told you the truth you didn't want to hear. Survival is only possible in the dark. He struck at you without hesitation, his blade humming with rage, his face twisted with scars, both seen and unseen. You fought him until the ground was slick with rain and sweat, your sabers clashing with every memory of what you both once were. When you disarmed him, he laughed, blood on his teeth. You'll understand soon enough. The light won't save you. It never did. You left him alive. You don't know if it was mercy or cowardice. The faces blur together now. Jedi you once admired, Jedi who once carried wisdom, now shattered. Some hiding in caves, too afraid to breathe too loudly. Some drunk in taverns, eyes glazed, their sabers long pawned for scraps. Some whispering to shadows, convinced the ghosts of the Order are watching them. Some so broken they surrender themselves willingly, kneeling before stormtroopers, praying that death will be quicker than the chase. And every time, the question festers deeper in your chest. If this is what survival looks like, is it worth it? The fire crackles, the man before you still staring into the flames. You reach out, desperate to save at least one. We can still endure. We can still fight. His eyes lift, and for a moment, you see the man you once knew. A flicker, a shadow. And then he whispers, "Fight for what?" His voice is flat, final. The Order is gone. The Council is gone. The children are gone. All that's left is running, hiding, dying slow. He turns away, his body folding into itself. You'll see. You'll end up like me. The words cut deeper than any blade, because you fear he's right. You move on, but the encounters multiply, survivors scattered like ash. Each one another reflection of what you might become. Some whisper conspiracies in the dark, convinced that the Force itself betrayed them. Some curse the Council, curse Yoda, curse Kenobi, curse every master who told them to fight a war they could never win. Some stare into nothing, silent as stone, their bodies alive but their spirits already gone. The galaxy doesn't remember them, the galaxy doesn't want them, but you find them over and over, like tombstones on forgotten roads, and every time their descent drags you closer to your own. One night, beneath the broken roof of an abandoned temple, you sit across from another, a woman this time, her face hidden in shadow, her voice sharp with bitterness. She laughs when you speak of survival. You still think you're Jedi? You still think you're anything but prey? She leans closer, her eyes gleaming in the dark. The only way to survive is to become what hunts us. The Inquisitors were smarter than us, stronger than us. They saw the truth. Why fight the tide when you can ride it? Her words twist in your chest, sickening. You want to deny her, to call her broken, lost, but part of you fears the seed she plants. Part of you feels the shadow pressing closer every day. You leave before her words can sink deeper, but they linger. They always linger. The road grows colder, lonelier. The whispers of survivors haunt you louder than the whispers of the Force. Their faces follow you in every shadow. Their voices echo in every silence, some begging for death, some laughing at your stubbornness, some promising you'll fall just as they did. You whisper to yourself as you walk, your voice raw, trembling. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The words taste heavier now, less like a refrain, more like prophecy. The night stretches endless, the stars swallowed by cloud, the wind howling through broken ruins. You press forward, your saber clutched in trembling hands, your breath shallow, and then you feel it, a ripple in the Force. Not faint, not fractured, but sharp, focused, hunting. You freeze, heart hammering, every nerve alight. Red light flickers against the stones ahead, shadows twisting with its glow. A voice echoes, distorted and cruel. You've seen what survival does. You've seen how they break. You'll break too. An Inquisitor steps from the dark, their saber spinning, their eyes locked on yours. Behind them, stormtroopers fan out, rifles gleaming in the firelight, and you realize the descent of the survivors has reached its cruelest stage, because now it's your turn to fall. It begins not with fire, not with blood, but with silence. You hear it whispered across cantinas, carried in hushed voices through the cracks of broken world. At first, you don't believe it. You don't want to believe it. Rumors have always surrounded the Jedi, stories twisted and bent depending on who was telling them. But these whispers cling heavier. They carry the sting of truth. The temple is gone. You feel the words more than you hear them, like a knife twisting into your chest. You stagger as if struck, your lungs tight, your vision swimming. It can't be. It can't. You close your eyes and see it, still alive in memory, the white stone gleaming under Coruscant's sun, the spires stretching high into the clouds, the banners swaying in the wind. You hear the laughter of younglings echoing through the halls, the low murmur of masters debating in the council chamber, the hum of sabers in the training rooms, a sanctuary, a beacon, a home. And then, the whispers say, it was turned to ash. The fire didn't just consume stone. It consumed memory. You press yourself into the shadows of the alley, the stink of spilled alcohol and wet metal filling your nose, your hood pulled low. The voices drift from a nearby table of smugglers, their words casual, cruel. They say the archives are gone too, burned, every holocron, every record. Another laughs, the sound sharp. Good riddance. Jedi stories, Jedi lies. Let the past stay dead. Your stomach lurches. The archives, where centuries of wisdom, history, knowledge had been kept, where you once sat as a youngling, your fingers tracing ancient texts, your eyes wide with wonder, where you learned of the code, the teachings of those who came before, where you dreamed of carrying that legacy forward, now reduced to nothing, not even dust. It hits you harder than any blade, because this isn't just about lives lost. This is about memory. It's Elf. The galaxy isn't just killing Jedi, it's erasing them. You stumble through the streets, your mind reeling, the rain slicing across your face. The Force ripples with grief, heavy and sharp, as if the galaxy itself mourns. But even grief feels muted now, smothered beneath the shadow of Sidious. You whisper to yourself, voice shaking, if the temple is gone, if the archives are gone, then what are we? The question echoes inside you, hollow, with no answer. You take shelter in a warehouse, its walls rusted, its roof leaking. You collapse against the cold stone, clutching your saber tight, the metal biting into your palms. Memories claw at you, unrelenting. The temple burning, the halls filled with screams, younglings crying, masters falling, clones marching. You thought memory itself was painful enough, but now even those memories feel fragile, as if they could be stripped away too. You see faces in the dark, ghosts of those who trained you, who raised you, who laughed with you. Their voices echo, "We are keepers of the peace. We are guardians of light," but their voices fade, drowned by the hiss of fire and the roar of destruction. You clutch your head, whispering, "Don't leave me," but they're already gone. Days later, you hear more whispers. The statues toppled, the murals scraped clean, the very stones of the temple repurposed for imperial monuments. The Jedi aren't just dead, they're being rewritten, branded as traitors, erased from history, buried beneath lies. You walk through a city square on another world, the air thick with smoke from torches, the crowd gathered tight. At the center stands a stage, banners of the Empire rippling in the wind. A man speaks, his voice amplified, his words sharp. The Jedi betrayed the Republic. They conspired with the Separatists. They tried to overthrow your emperor, but he saw through their lies. He saved you. The crowd cheers. Loud. Too loud. You watch from the shadows, your chest burning, your fists clenched. Children cheer alongside their parents, their small voices chanting the Emperor's name. And then soldiers march forward, dragging something behind them. You see the robes first, tattered and torn. Then the hilt of a saber, clutched tight in lifeless hands. A body, a Jedi. The soldiers throw it onto the stage like garbage. The crowd roars, a child spits, a man laughs. The officer sets the saber on fire, its glow swallowed in flames, the smoke curling into the night. You feel bile rise in your throat. You turn away before the grief drowns you, because this is what it means now. It isn't just your people dying, it's their memory, their light, their very existence, extinguished. You find yourself wandering ruins days later, the smell of ash still clinging to the stones. You run your hands along broken walls, fingers tracing the scars left by fire. You close your eyes and try to imagine it as it was, a place of learning, of laughter, of life. But the memory won't come. Only smoke, only silence, only the hiss of whispers telling you it's gone. It was never real. It never mattered. And that's the cruelest part. The galaxy isn't just killing Jedi. It's making the galaxy forget the Jedi ever were. Children will grow up never knowing their names. History will record them as villains. And every story you hold in your chest, every lesson, every memory will die with you. You whisper aloud, "You," her voice breaking. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The words sound emptier now, hollow echoes swallowed by ruin. But the galaxy doesn't grant you silence. As you leave the ruins, your hood low, your body weary, you feel it, a ripple in the force. Not memory, not grief, presence, real, close. You freeze, every nerve alight, your hand gripping your hilt. From the shadows of a collapsed archway, a figure steps forward. Their robes are dark, their saber hilt gleaming at their side. The crimson glow ignites, casting their scarred face in flickering red. An inquisitor. They tilt their head, their voice cold, mocking. You cling to ashes, you clutch at ghosts. But the truth is simple. There is no temple, there is no order, there is no light. The blade spins, its hum filling the air. There is only the Empire. The ruins tremble with the weight of their presence. The last remnants of memory around you feel smaller, weaker, as if even the stones bow to the darkness. You ignite your blade, the blue glow clashing with their crimson, your chest tight, your breath ragged. You stare into their eyes and realize the truth. The last light is extinguished, and all that's left is you. It begins with footsteps, not yours, theirs, heavy, measured, unrelenting. You hear them in the quiet between breaths, in the stillness of night, in the silence that should be safety. Sometimes they echo in streets you've long since left behind. Sometimes they press into the floor beneath your dreams. Sometimes they come when you are certain you are alone. And you realize with a hollow certainty that sinks into your chest, you are never alone. You are always being hunted. The purge is not an event. It is not a moment frozen in history, not a wound that scars and heals with time. It is a heartbeat that never stops pounding, a shadow that never loosens its grip. It stretches across every step you take, every world you set foot on, every breath you dare to draw. The purge is not over. It never will be. Because to be Jedi now is to live forever as prey. You move through the underworld of another nameless city, the air thick with the stink of oil and sweat, your hood low, your saber buried beneath rags. Neon flickers above you, lights buzzing like insects dying in the dark. Crowds press against you, their shoulders cold, their voices sharp, their eyes avoiding yours. But you feel it, the gaze that lingers too long, the whisper carried too close. Informants, spies, bounty hunters waiting for the chance to trade your life for credits. You slip into an alley, your boots splashing in stagnant water, the smell of rot filling your lungs. You press against the wall, chest heaving, listening, and then you hear it. Boots striking Duracrete, precise, unhesitating, stormtroopers. You hold your breath, the air burning in your chest, every muscle trembling. Their voices carry low, distorted by helmets. Search everywhere. He's close. You close your eyes, whispering to yourself, not yet, not here. You slip deeper into the shadows, your body pressed against stone, your heart hammering so. Oh, loudly you fear they'll hear it. They pass by, their rifles gleaming in the neon light, their visors reflecting crimson. You wait until the sound fades, but even then the fear lingers, because you know they'll be back. They'll always be back. Days blur together. Every step becomes a calculation, every glance a risk, every word a weapon that might betray you. You stop speaking your name. You stop meeting eyes. You stop believing in safe havens, because the truth presses against you heavier each day. The hunt has no end. You eat scraps in silence. You sleep in corners where shadows hide you. You move when no one watches. And still, they find you. Somehow, they always find you. You wonder how they do it. Maybe it's the posters plastered on walls, your face branded with the word traitor. Maybe it's the whispers of desperate citizens willing to sell you out for a handful of credits. Maybe it's the inquisitors, their senses sharp, their presence pressing through the force like claws raking across your skin. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's because the galaxy itself has turned into the hunter, and you are its prey. You think back to the days of war, when you led troops across battlefields, when you stood tall beneath banners, when soldiers looked to you for strength. You commanded armies then. Now you can't command even your own fate. You live in fragments, in shadows, in breaths stolen between hunts. And the refrain echoes louder than ever. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. You dream sometimes that you are running, faster than you ever could, the ground vanishing beneath your feet, the stars blurring above. But no matter how fast you move, the footsteps follow. You turn corners, scale cliffs, dive into oceans, but they are always there. Troopers, inquisitors, shadows with red blades. And when you wake, breath ragged, chest heaving, you realize the dream is no different from the truth. The dream is the truth. The galaxy offers no rest. On a desert world, you hide in caves where the heat suffocates and the air tastes of dust. On a frozen moon you shiver in ruins, your breath fogging in the air, the silence so heavy it crushes your chest. On a jungle planet you wade through swamps, the stink of rot clinging to your clothes, the cries of creatures echoing in the night, and in every place they find you, not always immediately, not always with sabers ignited, but eventually the footsteps come. Always. You stop asking yourself when the purge will end. You know the answer now. It won't. The purge isn't something you outlast. It isn't something you survive. It is the shape of your life now. To be Jedi is not to lead. It is not to teach. It is not to bring balance. It is to run forever. Sometimes you catch glimpses of yourself reflected in glass or water, and you don't recognize the face staring back. Hollow eyes, lines carved by fear, hair tangled and dirty, skin pale beneath the grime. You wonder if you are even Jedi anymore. You wonder if you are anything at all, or if you've already been erased, like the temple, like the archives, like the order itself, a shadow clinging to the memory of something long dead. And still, you move, because what else can you do? One night you crouch on the edge of a rooftop, the city sprawling beneath you, the wind sharp and cold. Fires burn in the distance, smoke curling into the night sky. Sirens wail, voices shout, boots strike stone. You watch stormtroopers drag prisoners through the streets, their voices sharp, their hands bound. One of them screams, "I'm not Jedi, please!" The words echo through the city, desperate, broken. The troopers don't listen. They never do. You turn away, your chi is tight, your throat burning. You know that could be you. You know it will be you one day. Because the truth presses in heavier with each breath, there is no end to the chase. The purge is not a scar you outlive. It is not a shadow that fades. It is the air you breathe, the ground you walk, the silence that follows you. It is the endless hunt, and you are the prey. You whisper to yourself, voice low, bitter, trembling. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. The words taste like ashes now, not mantra, not refrain, but epitaph. And then you feel it, a ripple in the force, sharp and sudden, cutting through the night like lightning. Your head snaps up, your breath catching, your hand tightening on your hilt. From the alleys below, red light flickers, casting shadows that twist and crawl. The hum follows, a saber igniting, its sound sharp, hungry. Footsteps rise, louder now, unrelenting, echoing up the walls. You rise slowly, your cloak whipping in the wind, your chest tight, your blade heavy in your hand. You look down into the streets, and you see them, inquisitors, more than one. Their sabers glowing crimson, their visors reflecting firelight, their voices cutting sharp through the storm. "Run!" one of them hisses, their voice distorted, cruel. "Run, so the hunt can continue." The troopers spread out, rifles raised, the crowd scattering in panic. You step back from the edge, your breath ragged, your mind racing. You could ignite your blade now. You could fight, but you know the truth. You've always known the truth. Fighting won't end it. Running won't end it. Nothing will end it, because the purge has no end. The hunt has no mercy, and the galaxy will never stop chasing you. You turn into the night, your saber igniting with a desperate hum, the blue glow clashing against the crimson below. And as the footsteps thunder closer, as the hunt tightens its circle once again, you realize the cruelest truth of all. To be Jedi now is not to live, it is to be hunted forever. You open your eyes to the darkness and realize there is no ending, only running, only shadows, only the memory of what you once were. The temple is ash, the archives erased, the council broken, the orders scattered, and you are just a fragment, hunted through a galaxy that has already forgotten you. The footsteps never stop, the whispers never fade, the purge never ends. And that's why it really sucked to be a Jedi during the purge.